Good evening. I call to order the October 29th meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. May I have a roll call vote, please? May I have a roll call?
Jeff here.
Amanda here.
Lynn here.
Daryl here.
Michael here.
Please rise.
Eric is also here.
Eric's
Hi,
here.
Eric.
I'm here.
Eric's here.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks. Yeah.
The United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have approval of the regular agenda for this evening. Did everybody read it? And does anybody have
No problem.
anything? May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve tonight's agenda of October 29th, 2025.
May I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Amanda, second by Jeff. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approval of the minutes of October 8th.
I had something on the minutes.
Okay,
On page 5, I'm pretty sure we went through direction on the laundromat, but there was a lot of stuff going on. I thought we said on the side. I don't know what anybody else recalls on that.
I thought we said on the side street also.
And then also in regards to patios and improvements of less than 30 inches, I thought that, it was a topic that Jeff discussed a lot, and I think that we pretty much said no on decks unless they were flat, and I think that we were patios, whatever, flush to the ground. Does anybody else recall that?
Yes.
Who says yes? Anything else?
So does that remove those two discussion items in the further, because those are both
Well,
topics?
do you want a straw poll on that now, Scott?
Can we wait till we get to it and if we just make short work of it when we get to it in today's discussion? Sorry if we missed that.
I also thought under building height, we finally decided on it would be from final grade, period. I thought Jeff said that and everybody.
What page then?
Probably good to get that one looked at.
Huh?
Oh, I see, page 6.
You want to go back to it?
Well, we should just make sure we're on the same page tonight about it when we get there.
That was on page 5960, building height calculations.
Okay.
There was some question in the, somewhere in here.
And if we get to it tonight, Jeff, on 97, and
No, this
actually,
is minutes, just minutes.
it's the same thing that you're talking about in regards to the building height. On the top of page 98, I don't know if it got corrected or anything, but it talks about the midpoint between the eave and the highest point of the gable, and
We'll go to it when we get there.
so I don't. It's a long ways out, but no problem.
We'll get there.
Okay.
Maybe.
I make a motion to approve October 8th minutes, 2025 with the two corrections noted.
Second.
Motion by Amanda, second by Daryl. All in favor?
Aye.
Next on the agenda, we have declaration of conflicts of interest. Anybody? No? Public comment? Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak to something that is not on tonight's agenda? No. Special presentations, we don't have any. So the first one is 0246 Miles in Lane, new single-family residence.
So this is a 4-bedroom, almost 5,000 square foot single-family home measured to the midpoint of the roof at 27 feet 10 inches. Parking is fine with 4 off-street spaces, and all setbacks are respected, and the proposal is under the allowable lot and impervious coverage limitations. They also have more snow storage than is required by the code at 465 square feet. I will say that due to me writing the staff report prior to me leaving, and therefore before this packet went out, and before receiving the town engineer's comment letter, my staff report incorrectly says that there are no issues. It recommends approval without conditions. The town engineer did flag 2 minor issues in his letter, that the curb stop should be enclosed in a water valve box, and that erosion control devices be added to the west side of the house above the trail and drainage ditch. So staff does recommend is still recommending approval of the plans, but we request that a condition be added that the town engineer's comments be addressed prior to building permit approval.
Yeah, I saw that too. So does anybody have anything else?
I got a good comment. I noticed that you're changing it from shredded bark to, thank you,
That's a universal change. We're changing that for the whole neighborhood.
thank you.
You're welcome.
You make it so easy.
We try.
It beats bucking the system.
And I guess I just had to ask, is there any concern with the condition that's gonna be presented?
Our architect is actually on Zoom, so he'll respond to that.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
but I don't think it's a problem. But Don's on there if he wants to speak.
Is he there?
I've allowed him to speak if you'd like. Don?
Madison, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Yeah, we have no issues with that. The one thing we'll have to do is look at where that erosion control goes between the house and the general subdivision landscaping. Those may be done at two separate times, so we may tuck that erosion control measures up closer to the house and do a second version against the trail when they do the landscaping on that area.
That's fine with me.
Okay, everybody else okay with that? So may I have a motion, please? Public comment. I caught myself at you.
I appreciate it.
Anybody in the audience have public comment on 0246 Miles and Lane?
No one online.
No one online. Now, close public comment. Anybody have a motion?
Make a motion to approve 0246 Miles Lane with the two conditions recommended by staff as discussed in today's meeting.
Thank you. Madison, he's saying he can't hear.
Well, Dawn could hear us, so I don't think this.
Eric, can you hear us now?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Click the
Um,
X.
Okay.
With that, I'm sorry. Amanda, you made a motion?
Yes.
To approve 0246 Miles Lane with the two conditions recommended by staff to address the comments in the engineering report.
Second.
Motion by Amanda, second by Jeff. Any further conversation?
Nope.
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Jeff, I.
You keep skipping me, dude.
I'm waiting.
A break.
Amanda, I.
Lynn, aye.
Daryl, aye.
Michael,
Trying to get Madison tucked into bed here.
I am first in
All
line.
Aye.
I'm unheard.
Man, I can't see that far. Those guys are far away.
Okay, next we have 0018 Abbey Road, changes to approved plans for a single-family residence.
So as you're aware, last meeting's packet was a wonderful example of the things that staff approves by ourselves and then just lets you know after the fact, given that I'm pretty sure it was 150 pages of your packet last time. And we tend to approve things like window packaging changing, materials changing, if the stone wainscoting around the bottom gets a little bigger or a little smaller, things like that. We've been very clear that we don't approve anything that deals with building height changes, even if it's becoming lesser. We don't deal with footprint changes, even if it's becoming lesser. Those are things that we are not comfortable with changing and still, rely on y'all to review this. And while technically footprint and building height is not changing for this particular application, the fact that the walls were coming out to enclose what was previously a third-story deck and making that livable space, that was something that staff was just like, oh, this is kind of borderline. We're not super comfortable with approving this on our own. So while we don't believe that this violates the code in any way, we still think that this should be approved. We wanted to be super transparent and bring this before y'all to see if y'all had any questions or any concerns, but staff is still recommending approval of the plans.
Michael, can you start with you?
I'd just like to thank staff for bringing it to us. Yeah, and I have no other comments.
Daryl?
I have no problem at all.
I have no problem with it, but can you give me the square footage that adds on for interior?
I will try.
I think I figured it out from the numbers on here, but I just wanna say it out loud.
Let me look. Greg, if you have that answer off the top of
I
your head.
don't.
Okay, no worries. I will figure it out.
It's about 150 or something like that, I think.
Yeah, close to 150, yeah.
So just let the record show that Greg Masick, record architect on the project, is in attendance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this is 6 2/3 feet by. There's a lot of different horizontal lines.
I went to the cloud
It's our
page.
cruel making her do this.
15 2/3 feet.
Like,
This is
so,
cruel.
This is really,
6.66 times 15.66. It's about 105 square feet if I'm looking at this correctly.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Jeff?
I don't have any problems with what's being proposed, but I did just, forgive me for not remembering, but Belden has a taller height limit than 28 feet, right?
Technically, no. Their height limit still sits at 28 feet, but they have a different method of calculation than the rest of town does, according to their PUD guide. They have an averaging system where you take every single roof feature and figure out the percentage of that roof feature versus the overall roof and weigh those heights accordingly so that you get under 28 feet. It's very complicated. I'm probably not explaining it correctly.
It's designed to encourage different roof forms that help break up the mass and step the building down.
So what's the final height?
I don't know what the final height, I was just reading the plate heights, and the ground level is 100 and the plate height's 126, 3.5, so that means that it's 26'3" to there, which means there's only another less than 2 feet to get to the midpoint, if the way we normally calculate it, which probably, this is probably a little over that. But that's the way that they calculate it, so I'm assuming it fits. I'm not trying to, because it's shown on here as 28'7" and it's 13/16, which means it's 7 inches above the 28 feet, if that's.
I think that we just clarified our measuring process, Jeff.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter for this.
No, it's okay.
Yeah,
Because
they have
They have their own
Yeah.
PUD guide, which dictates how they do it. So it just,
He's just clarifying.
well, it's right there in front of me, so if it's supposed to be less than 28 feet, I'm just wondering why it says 28'7".
because the overall average needs to be less than 28
Okay.
feet, but that specific roof form does not have to be under 28 feet.
Gotcha.
don't you remember like when we would approve these full packages, there was like a chart, I thought it was still in
Yeah.
this package actually, that had like the.
And I don't want to waste time on that right now. It's just,
Nothing about the building height or the ridge height is changing. It's just.
Yeah.
It's just the.
so yeah, I don't have any problems with what's being proposed with the enclosing of the space. Just, it looks pretty much the same in the end. It's not that big of a deal.
Amanda,
I have no questions for staff or the architect.
open to public comment? There is no one. Closed to public, unless you choose to stand and give some info. Closed to public comment? Anybody, or nobody on computers?
No one online.
Okay, caught it. We're closed to public comment. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve
0018.
0018 Abbey Road as presented.
May I have a second?
A second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Amanda. Roll call vote, please.
Amanda, I.
Jeff, aye.
Then I jump in there.
Yes, I vote for the addition there, the change.
Michael,
Michael, aye.
thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Then turn forward. Land use code update, continuation of draft Article 3 zoning regulations and updating zone. And Scott reminded me that we need to go for straw polls if we want to get direction tonight. So we will need 3 people to confirm a decision to go for direction. Please help me remember that. Last time I thought we had a little bit.
Are we starting on page 73 or?
I think we're starting with bed and breakfast.
We're starting with Scott, or are we starting with Matt?
Start with Matt and Scott, if you would be so kind, and we'll, Matt was, as always, on the ball and took good notes. I took good notes too, but as soon as we were done with the meeting, I shut off my PDF and I forgot to save it. So Matt, thank you for providing a good rundown of your notes from the last meeting.
Page 98 of this week's.
So the staff memo starts on page 73. And it does kind of point out some things that we're hoping to get direction on. I do apologize if you feel like you did give direction, we missed it in the discussion. Hopefully then we can make quick work of some of these things. So the staff memo on page 73 just highlights some of those things that we think we still need direction on, and then we can keep going with the standards. Does that make sense?
We hopefully try to blow through that with any
You want to do that
comments
first?
we have.
Okay.
Yep. Matt, you agree with that?
Yeah, I think if we can work through those items in the memo and then continue the review of Article 3, I think that's ideal.
Perfect.
Page 73, Amanda.
So bed and breakfast is the first one. I did go through
74.
whoever took the minutes from last time, I commend you because I was easily able to follow all of the conversations and everything like that. So it looks like there was a request to increase the guest room from 4 to 5, and there was questions to Matt as to guidance. It looked like from other municipalities or where he got that 4, and that wasn't clear in the notes. But to me, the bigger question is the second bullet, which is, should bed and breakfasts be allowed in residential? R1, R2, I know the individual that came and spoke against the bed, or spoke in for the 4 to 5 bedroom is obviously a mixed use property. So I guess for me, I'm ambiguous against the 4 or 5. I feel like in a mixed use, we already have things going on that are bed and breakfast. So if 5 works, 5 works. But I do feel that in residential, that bed and breakfast is potentially. I think we talked about this in the meeting before October 8th. That there's potential for misuse of them, and so I feel like breakfasts should still remain maybe prohibited from use in R1 and R2.
I remember that conversation and I remember that the same. Anybody else?
I agree.
That prohibit in R1 and R2?
Correct.
Yes.
So, straw poll? 5.
5 for beds and prohibit 1 and 2.
Yes.
I think
So-
we already had direction on the prohibition. I think what Matt and I are asking is, given that they're not allowed in residential upon your recommendation, they really become more of a commercial accommodation. So do we even need am I stating that correctly, Matt?
Yeah, that's correct. I think the question was, given the direction the planning commission provided to prohibit bed and breakfasts in any of the residential zone districts, I think from staff's perspective, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have bed and breakfast as a separate use because they're more or less a hotel or a commercial accommodation.
Isn't there different licensing in terms of the person running that business in the state of Colorado if it's a commercial accommodation versus bed and breakfast? And there's tax, yeah.
I don't have an answer to that. And that's not necessarily something that would be addressed in the land use regulations. I mean, if they have to get state licensing, that's kind of dictated by the state, not by the town.
What is the reason to not use the term bed and breakfast?
It just seems unnecessary because what's the difference between say a Days Inn that allowed in a commercial or mixed use zone district versus a bed and breakfast, which is, I guess from my perspective, essentially a small hotel. Like why separate them and have standards for a bed and breakfast when there's no standards for or specific standards for a bed and breakfast and none for a commercial accommodation?
Well, I think to Amanda's point, if for some reason they would be looked at differently in terms of tax dollars, or that, you know, because of it, if you called it one thing versus another, or if it's above a certain number of bedrooms, does that throw it into a different bracket where, for instance, there's a ballot, you know, the ballot measure that's on the upcoming election for sales tax being used, or increasing the sales tax on lodging, if it made a difference of whether you could tax one versus the other or not, maybe would be the reason.
So perhaps another way to look at this, we have a definition for commercial accommodation, which is kind of a kitchen sink type of definition. And bed and breakfast could be included within that. Then the licensing is a separate issue, right?
How they license it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it says commercial accommodations means a building or group of buildings containing guest units designed to be rented for less than 30 days to the general public for compensation, and which may or may not have eating or drinking facilities as an accessory use. Commercial accommodations include inns, hostels, motels, hotels, boarding houses, lodging houses, and dormitory housing.
And
We
we
would
can
add
add,
bed and breakfast to that list specifically, and then that way if they want to license as a bed and breakfast, then they license as a bed and breakfast. So we're not pulling their use by right, because they still can be a bed and breakfast, it's just underneath the general glossary term of commercial.
That would be one way to handle this. I guess the question I have for all of us, and Matt, I don't know if you and I talked about this, but you know, typically with a bed and breakfast, and I think the draft standards that you provided for us or that we already have requires that there's an on-site manager at the premise. That wouldn't necessarily correlate with a commercial accommodation like a lodge or a. So is that a reason to keep it as a bed and breakfast as a separate line item use and have specific standards?
So Scott, I would just add or clarify, and again, a lot of those standards that are in there or in the draft of Article 3 largely came from what's in the code today. But my understanding or my interpretation of that is those standards were to mitigate potential impacts when a bed and breakfast is in a residential area. Whereas, you know, a bed and breakfast, whether or not there's an on-site manager, you're going to have fewer rooms. From my perspective, the impacts are going to be significantly less than a hotel with 40 rooms. And I know that's an exaggeration for what could happen in Minturn, but that's kind of my point is there's no standards for commercial accommodations, which if you have a large hotel could have significant impacts, whereas a bed and breakfast probably isn't going to have 30, 40 rooms. And so why have standards if those are only going to be allowed in commercial or mixed use zone districts where I would argue that the types of impacts from uses in commercial and mixed use zone districts are anticipated to be greater than if you're in a purely residential area, if that makes sense.
It does make a lot of sense.
When the regulation of manager or no manager is probably more of an issue for the license and the terms of the license versus us deciding whether that needs to be the case. Seems heavy-handed coming from this side of the table.
Even if it's not covered in the license, it might be just good business practice to have somebody on site your clients can talk to if there's an issue with the room.
Well, and we went through this with VRBOs, like when the early days of us all discussing the terms of whether we give out VRBO licenses, a lot of it had to do with there needs to be a sign on the premises that says, here's the number you call, and someone is a local person that is going to come over when there's teenagers that just rented it for a high school party.
Okay. So Do we have direction then to,
I have a question.
yeah,
I'm sorry, are we going down the line or we could just?
No, go ahead.
Just for I just want to clarify so I understand. So basically what we're saying, because I was looking at the use tables and the new zoning map, which thank you for putting that together as well. And where the different areas where bed and breakfast is and are right. So what we're saying is we're thinking that we want to consolidate it so everywhere it says right applies to bed and breakfast, hostels, and everything complete. Because if that's the case, I would think we might want to think about specifically, you know, with the bed and breakfast and having a max bedroom limit on it, it's a bed and breakfast. If it starts getting in the commercial stuff, like there's different impact, I think, with bed and breakfast versus, you know, multiple room areas. So is that going to change in, you know, the list of uses in different zones, you know, to different things? Is it all going to be consolidated that everything is right and we're sort of opening things a little wide open, or do we want to keep a bed and breakfast in, for example, say MU3 with a max of 5 bedrooms? I mean, 5 bedrooms, and as long as they have parking. It's just a thought on my end.
So looking at the use table, if we were to lump bed and breakfast under commercial accommodations, the only zone district where commercial accommodations appears where bed and breakfast is not is makerspace. I will say that in all of the other zone districts, commercial accommodations is a use by right. It's not a limited use or conditional use like bed and breakfast is in the mixed use zone districts or 100 block A. But the only additional zone district is makerspace, which I don't think you're quite. It has not been my appearance that the planning commission is quite as concerned about impacts in makerspace, obviously, because it's a more industrial area. So hopefully that will put your mind.
I might be still,
ease?
I might be a little confused still,
Okay.
but I appreciate you explaining it to me. So basically, you're saying it doesn't change.
No, it won't change it.
So so basically, is bed and breakfast still going to be listed in MU1, MU2, and MU3? And, okay.
MU1 and MU2, according to the page 85.
Yeah, so the use table lists commercial accommodations as a prohibited use in MU3. So that if bed and breakfast was lumped in with commercial accommodations, they would, and commercial accommodations are continued to be prohibited in MU3, a bed and breakfast wouldn't be allowed there.
But we currently have them in MU3.
We allow
Correct.
bed and breakfast in MU3, not commercial accommodations. I apologize. This table is very tiny.
Yeah, so that would cause an issue with that. Would make that a non-conformity.
So then along those lines, do we want to consider specifically for, I understand what you're saying, and I understand what everybody, you know, staff and what Matt's saying, but I think potentially we might want to leave bed and breakfast and just leave it as a right in MU3, and other zones it could be lumped in the commercial. Maybe is a better idea with a max on the bedrooms. The parking required. Got to do something.
okay. Matt, what do you think of that?
I mean, I think if bed and breakfast is going to be a separate use, it just stays separate. I don't think I think it would maybe be complicated to have it in some places considered a commercial accommodations and others not. So I think if it needs to be a separate or line item in the use table, it just stays that way. I guess if that's the direction that things go, and it's bed and breakfasts are still only allowed in commercial and mixed use zone districts, I don't know that the standards are necessary because, again, from my perspective, the impacts from a bed and breakfast are going to be equivalent or less than that of a hotel.
So you're saying, Matt, just make sure that parking is sufficient for the amount of bedrooms? Something, is that what you're saying?
Well, so parking is gonna, I mean, every use in the table, there's gonna have to be adequate parking for, and we'll address that later. There's standards right now that are proposed for bed and breakfast that say you can only have, I think it's 4 guest rooms. You have to have an on-site manager. You can only serve breakfast. You can't sell knickknacks and stuff like that. So there's restrictions on a bed and breakfast that there aren't those same restrictions on a hotel. And from my perspective, those restrictions make sense if you're allowing bed and breakfast in a residential area, but the direction we're going is to say bed and breakfasts are only allowed in commercial or mixed use zone districts. So I guess it doesn't make sense in my mind to treat a bed and breakfast differently than a hotel. And so I don't know that the standards that are in there now are necessary anymore, if that made any sense.
So Matt, my one question would be, what does allowing commercial accommodations in MU3 do that only allowing bed and breakfast does not?
So MU3, based on what's in the community plan, is intended to be a primarily residential mixed-use zone district with low, quote unquote, low impact commercial uses. So if you allowed, I think the question is if you allowed commercial accommodations as a use by right in MU3, potentially a hotel as a commercial use with significant impacts. That said, I don't know that it's going to even be feasible if you allowed commercial accommodations in MU3 for a big hotel to go in there, just given the size of those properties. So
Right, you would have no room for parking anyway.
Well, I
right.
think that we have to keep bed and breakfast. I don't think we can consolidate bed and breakfast in the commercial uses.
Or commercial accommodations.
Correct.
I don't think you can consolidate it based on this discussion.
So then if we're keeping it, according to the chart we currently have, it's mostly limited use, conditional use, or not at all. Would we then be taking the limited uses to use by right?
For MU3 only, or for also?
Well, no, if we're gonna
Would you
still
the
allow it.
block?
If we're getting rid of it totally in residential and we're keeping it in commercial and mixed use, would it then become used by right?
In our current chart, I think it is.
I think it should
Except for
Here, it is
MU3,
not.
right?
be.
Except for MU3,
Yeah,
Except for
MU3 is
conditional.
Limited.
limited. MU2 is limited and MU1 is conditional,
Can you see that?
which is.
And the reason for a limited review use is to ensure it complies with, largely is to ensure that it complies with the specific standards. So if we got rid of the bed and breakfast standards that are in this draft of Article 3, I don't know that it necessarily needs to be a limited review use, because there wouldn't be any standards that would need specific standards that it would need to comply with. I mean, you'd still have to comply with parking, landscaping, etc. But there's nothing specific like guest room, a certain number of guest rooms, on-site manager, etc.
What does limited mean? What does limited mean, Scott? Amanda, does it say use by right in MU3 or does it say limited?
It says limited.
Limited.
MU3 is limited. And so but MU1
MU3 is the same.
MU1 is conditional. Like,
Seems like they should all be the same.
What's the difference, Scott, what's the difference, the process for limited versus conditional?
Limited would just be staff review essentially. Mostly. Does it go, does it? No.
Yeah, limited is staff review and
Conditional is
conditional use is planning commission and council.
So we were just discussing why it's conditional use in MU1. I'm not sure I have a good answer for that.
I thought we've been around and around that conditional uses being like, not that.
I think the conditional use came from one of the planning commission's recommendation from a number of years ago. I think that's where that came from.
The conditionals or something come up.
To me, it would be if you're gonna go the route of, you know, keeping bed and breakfast as a separate line item, if it's a limited review use in MU3, it should be either a use by right or a limited review use in all other zone districts. Commercial zone districts, that is.
I feel like because of the, I don't know what the right word is, but it seems like there's some apprehension of, especially in MU3, you know, it's supposed to be a, you know, I think that's an area that should be the same, but I don't know that treating the other two that same way is fair if we're trying to promote that,
right,
in those other two zones. Seems like we should make it easy for someone to have a bed and breakfast in MU1 and 2.
Right.
So a limited review seems like a smart one. A
It's
conditional use of MU3, maybe that's the wrong word for it because conditional use is like an annual thing or it's not really the right like use for a business. I had that discussion.
Yeah, we are, I think, trying to get away from conditional uses where we can, and I
But
don't
by
see
the
the point in that. If
By the
it's-
same token, yeah, if it's not a public process and it's somebody's proposing it at MU3, you'd think the public would want to know about it.
Yeah, it's true too.
and then, but in the 100 block, well, I guess we can't change, we're not changing 100 block, so never mind.
Let's not go there yet.
Yeah.
Let's just stay in MU.
Eric, do you have any thoughts?
I agree. I think that for MU1, MU2, it should be by right, and then MU3, limited use. That makes the most sense.
Can we make it, to Eric's point, can we make it a limited use that somehow involves the public process as an additional step for that zone and this use?
Matt, I know
So-
that we have discussed certain, I think, actually subdivision applications that are staff approved, still needing to go through a public notice process where adjacent property owners are notified that, hey, this is going on. Is that something, and I apologize since it's been so long since I've looked at Article 5, is that something that we do for limited use? Do you remember?
I can look that up here real quick.
So that would mean anything with an L, regardless whether it's bed and breakfast, has to go through a notice process.
If that's what's been set up, yeah.
Yeah.
Amanda, what do you think about, currently we have a bed and breakfast on Eagle Street currently. And do you think that it should be an objection to a use by right in MU3? Or
Well, we don't have one directly on Eagle Street right now.
we have Spence's?
It's not a
Not
bed and
on
breakfast
Eagle.
right now, it's a short term, and
It's a short term.
they're considering moving it back to a bed and
Oh, yeah, you're correct, you're correct.
And so,
But it was.
but it was a bed and breakfast, so was Ashland's, it
It was
was,
part of
Like from day one.
yeah, but so were their neighbors too.
Yeah,
Both have community of,
do you like, Eric's idea seems pretty
yeah, like flush, yeah.
good idea.
Except it doesn't involve the public.
And what do you think the process should be? Sometimes people have crazy neighbors.
But at least they have a vote.
I believe that you have to post it. I believe it's only,
I think you have to post
I
it.
believe that, I think that it should definitely be a requirement that if you want a bed and breakfast at your house in MU3,
Yeah,
that,
if you're gonna leave us as MU3, then
you can't just,
you can't just leave it like all the other short.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to us like, I think we're all saying the same thing, that any limited use in any zone for anything, probably is, there's no harm in a public notice. You can approve it, but at least the public has been given an opportunity to say, whoa, and call you up. And
I'm
make
more
your job
con-
more difficult.
I mean, I'm more concerned that we have MU1 in front of us that has it'll be used by right, and we would have no notice of it.
But that's why you have MU1 and 2, because you're promoting business.
But Mike, we all use the same street. So MU1, you think they use Main Street, they use Eagle River Street. They don't use, nobody from the hotel uses Main.
But that's a separate issue.
That's a total separate issue. But that's what, like.
And if somebody comes in and says they want to open a bed and breakfast, a new one in MU2, and it's a use by right, and they go and they draft up plans, and those plans come through the process, there's still going to be a public process to build that building. Or
Correct. But if
change
you do.
that for that use, and then the public knows, oh, whoa, wait a minute, I didn't know we were going to do that.
But we're saying MU1 and MU2 is going to be conditional or used by right?
Used by right.
And I totally.
Those are commercial zone districts.
By right in the street in front of us.
Bed and breakfast,
I would encourage you to think globally about this, not just your house and your neighborhood. I know that's tough, but that's
No, we just use ours as an example.
Because we have the two.
Because we
ours,
had.
Because we have MU1 and MU3 living side by side with the same street. It's the only one in all of the maps that's that way.
My issue is knowing that street. That's not a wide street. That street is packed with cars and things from the buildings and dumpsters.
That's a 15-foot one-way street.
It's a terrible street. And in the winter, the condition it gets into with the snow and the potholes and everything else, it's horrible. And unless there's other ways of putting people into parking around there, I would leave it as limited use and let it come through.
So to clarify, the purpose of the limited review use process is for the planning director to review a proposal to ensure it complies with the standards that are in the use specific standards that are in the Article 3. And I just checked, there is no public notice requirements for a limited review use because it is, again, it's intended to be a check to make sure that somebody's complying with the standards before they go out and do it. If they're doing a new building, even if it was a limited review use, they'd have to get the limited review use that go through that process, and then they'd still have to go through the design review process. So there's that check. But again, the limited review use process is to say these sorts of uses were it's more or less a use by right, but we've added some additional standards to try and address or mitigate impacts that we've thought of. And this is a way for the planning director to ensure all those boxes are checked before somebody moves forward.
Thoughts?
Well, it sounds to me like we're maybe at an impasse, or we don't all agree on it. Because it sounds like on one hand, we're talking about you having a use by right in MU1, MU2, and a limited review in MU3, which is not much different than a use by right. You still have a right to it. And in the end, unless you're going to get more restrictive, seems like the only way to do it.
Can I ask a question? And I apologize for not knowing this. Who's the existing bed and breakfast on Eagle River Street?
No, I was there when Tom Sullivan owned the property. Both buildings where Spence lives and the one next to it. They were both, and I was confused. And I was wrong because Spence is just a rental. It's not a bed and breakfast. It's a short.
He did come to us and say, hey, we might want to do that again in the future, so please consider that. However, if that one potential use that doesn't exist today If we're now looking at this saying, okay, the purpose of the MU3 district is to be mostly residential, bed and breakfast would not be allowed in residential zone districts. And I get your point, Amanda, that right across the alleyway or right across the street is the potential for a hotel or a bed and breakfast or VRBO or whatever. Maybe MU3 is not the right place for bed and breakfast accommodations or commercial accommodations, but what else is the Minturn in a potential MU3 or is that MU1?
Minturn is MU1 right
It is-
now.
It is currently MU1, but based on planning commission recommendation to turn that side of Main Street into MU3, it could potentially move to MU3 if council likes that idea.
And so this is the questions that Matt's posing is like, should we combine the two, commercial accommodations and bed and breakfast? I feel like poll vote no. That's what I vote is poll vote no. So I think that's the first question for you guys.
I'm pretty sure that, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the majority of us agree that, no, we shouldn't combine
Correct.
that.
So let's vote on that.
All right, we're voting on that. Don't combine, Matt.
Don't combine them.
Don't combine.
Right.
Okay, and then as far as, and I understand what Amanda's saying, in regards to MU1, MU2, the front staying is MU3. I do think that Eric's idea potentially is good for MU3 and what's going on the 400 block on Main Street is the next step that we're gonna have to get into.
Yeah. You mean the notice is a good idea? Or the
I think that we go with MU3 as a limited use with a mail out to anybody within 200 feet or whatever our new mail out thing is, and it's a limited use in MU3, and we clarify that now, and MU1 and MU2 and what's going on in the 400 block, because I understand what Amanda's saying and a lot of that stuff you guys discussed when I wasn't here. I think as we move through this, we need to discuss that more, but I think that we should go with MU limited review and MU3 at this point and vote on that and can keep going.
Suggestion.
What's that?
Suggestion. If there's a interest and direction to allow for bed and breakfast as a limited review in MU3 with notice, and we don't necessarily have a notice provision as part of the overall limited reviews process.
I think so.
And so one of the standards then would be, proof or evidence of public notice. Matt, does that work for you?
Yeah, I think it makes the code overly complex because it's
Yeah.
you're requiring public notice for one limited review use in one zone district, whereas all the other limited review uses don't have that.
We haven't got to that point yet, Matt. I think we should roll with what we've got.
Can we just add it to limited use?
Yeah.
All of
So
them?
then anything that comes in limited use has to be posted.
Well, so again, a limited review use is intended, that process is intended to ensure that a project complies with the standards that are already incorporated into the code. And the town planner or the planning director is just looking at the application to ensure that the standards are being adhered to. It's, I mean, I guess you could have an opportunity for public input, but they'd have to they'd have to base it on the criteria of whether or not the use complies with the standards.
Better instrument for it. That's what you guys have in here now. Like, there's a reason you got to that point. Now we're just kind of we're just questioning why. And obviously there was a reason why. It's limited review for MU1 and 2
It's currently
and
conditional.
conditional for MU3.
Okay.
So leave it like that.
And even though conditional use is maybe not the best process for that, it still is better than.
We might see one of these or two of these in the next 10
Right,
years.
exactly.
Speak up.
It's not gonna be a run on bed and breakfast.
And it was, the fact is, it was a bed and breakfast, and speaking of
Go
that,
limited
and
review on
it
all
may go
of
back
those.
to being that again.
So,
It was originally built for that reason.
What, on your point about, why not just all limited use have that, requirement that they,
that's what I said.
Because
Then-
limited use is supposed to be a streamlining process.
Yeah,
not
it's supposed to be
make more
efficiency.
work.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
So
the
let
minute you
me-
add that, it's more work.
If,
Well, it's more process, it's just,
All right, Jeff, what
Let
was your
me go-
thought? What did you think, Jeff? What is everybody, what are we back at?
first I want to go back and read through this. So currently what we're discussing is bed and breakfast, and the 100 block A and B is limited use. Everybody okay with that? I am. Okay, then in civic, federal lands, and marketplace, it is prohibited use, which I agree, there's no place there to do it. Mixed use would remain conditional. Mixed use 2, that was mixed use 1, I'm sorry. Mixed use 2 and 3 is limited.
No.
That's the way it is right now.
Yeah, I think we're saying the opposite. We're saying MU1 and 2 should be
Gotcha.
limited,
Okay,
and MU3 should be conditional,
then MU3 should be conditional, because that's where you're at.
right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's why we were going back and forth so much.
okay, I see.
Then R1, R2 become
Prohibited.
prohibited, and R3 is prohibited.
Eliminating ones.
Recreation space and railroad are prohibited. I think that's,
Does that make sense?
does that make
Pat?
sense to everybody?
Can we read that back one more time, Lynn, just to make sure
Yes.
that everybody is.
Bed and breakfasts in 100 block is limited use, A and B. Civic, federal lands, and marketplace are prohibited. Mixed use 1 and 2 are limited. Mixed use 3 is conditional. R1, R2, R3 are prohibited. Okay,
And then same for open space
and same for open space, yeah.
and railroad.
All right, we got a deal.
I poll.
Paul, Darrell.
3, 4, 5.
Paul, Darrell.
Lucky number
Eric, you
5.
poll?
Paul, Darrell.
Eric polls.
Okay,
6.
excellent work, everybody.
Okay.
That was
Alright.
easy.
We're still on page 74, so.
We're still on first topic.
Just leave your thing running.
All right, we're going in order. I got a few things on 74. You want me to throw them out there right now?
We're on laundromats now.
Laundromats.
All right.
Correction on whether laundromats should be permitted to front on Main Street.
I poll that they're only on side streets as discussed in the minute corrections.
I second.
What was it? It was not on Front Street.
Okay, can I please jump in here real quick? So, I flagged this with Scott earlier today. Y'all have discussed laundromats prior to Steph and Spence coming to the last meeting. Y'all had discussed it at the last meeting in September, actually, and already given direction. So the direction given, based on both the minutes and the memo that I drafted for the October 8th, recapping the direction, was that it should be allowed in 100 block B, and it should be allowed on the rear of the property in 100 block A so that it doesn't front on Main Street. It sounds like there was additional discussion at the last meeting to allow it to front on the side streets of what I assume was Norman.
No, Nelson.
I'm sorry, Nelson. I apologize. I get those mixed up in my head all the time. So that's great extra clarification, but in efforts to hopefully make this.
What did you say? I wasn't at that meeting. So you're saying when they had those discussions, it was the back only in those areas? Is that what you just
The
said?
back of 100 block A, and then all of the floor in 100 block B.
So anything fronting on Main Street would have to be in the back of the building. Steph and Spence came and said, well, could you consider side streets? Because they have
Because
plans
they
right
want to
now.
do that entrance on the side.
Right, but then on William Street, or I guess Eagle River Street, William Street, you could have it at the front of the house.
Well, if everybody already agreed when I wasn't here to the back, I'm okay with the back.
And the side happened the last time, because if you remember in their original design, They had a side door that opened into a small laundromat, and the idea was to pull a box of soap down to get the door open to go into the distillery. It was creating a character to the building and to the business. And that's what they were worried about not being able to do. Well, when you think of it, the only place you're going to be able to really do that is on their building if you go out to Nelson.
Right.
It's a very isolated thing, but I have no problem with it.
Nor do I.
I did speak with Jay about, the issue of sales tax generation, and his response was, well, no, typically a laundromat is not a sales tax generating business unless they sell things like soap and other things that get rung up and
whiskey.
Or whiskey.
Whiskey. Yeah, I guess that could
Or
be a
whiskey flavored
detergent.
soap.
Right. Yeah.
That's my idea.
Bourbon
Copyright that.
Tide. Bourbon Tide.
But laundromats often do sell things like soap or candy bars or
Yeah.
little
Soda
things to
machine.
entertain you while you're waiting for your stuff to dry, so.
Right, and that goes to discussions we've had, and Matt and I have had, if it's a sales tax generating use, then why limit it to just the back of the building?
So we're gonna make a requirement of them to sell things out of that door? Or is that because the entire building is sales tax generating?
They're talking about putting
If there
two
was,
stackables and one set of individuals is what they said that night.
Well, you gotta think about not them, and
Right.
think about a
But I
big,
mean, the size of it.
anybody,
But don't think about it like that. Think about a real laundromat that does nothing but that.
So you know about laundromats down by you. Tell us, do they make a lot of money?
They make some, not a whole lot.
well, they might
It's-
make money, but whether it's taxable or not is the thing, right?
Yes,
So
some taxable
if
thing, but usually it's like, Madison
That's
says, out
correct.
of vending machines. That's basically what it is.
No, Scott's correct, whether it's taxed or not. In regards to revenue from the actual laundromat itself,
It's not.
I don't believe it's taxed.
No, Jay said it's not.
Yeah.
But if you bought a candy bar at a vending machine.
So where do we wanna go? Keep it back or add side?
No, we had it inside.
We already
We're
had
good
it,
with that
sorry.
inside. We
I'm
had
good with that
consensus
inside.
that it was good.
Alright,
Straw poll,
Outside.
side.
Side.
side and back or
And
just
Eric's
side?
saying
and they're
yes.
not, and they're still not permitted in front on Main Street.
No.
Jeff, this is just side and back.
Side and
Just
back.
side and back, not on
Okay,
Main Street.
not on Main Street.
Okay, sounds good.
I won't go any further.
Alright,
is Eric okay with that?
yeah.
Yes, he was shaking his head.
Yes, I'm good.
How sick is he and is he really in a doggy thing?
Alright, awnings, and I have we'll just jump in here, comment on awnings. We discussed this a lot at the last meeting, and I think we made it pretty specific that no post. Right, Jeff?
If it's posted, it's probably not an awning because it's.
Correct. It's more of a porch or a structure. It's definitely a
These
roof.
awnings that go vroom, vroom, like go in and out.
What's your thought on re-clarify the awning, Jeff, what we talked about? And we can continue, and everybody else can discuss it again.
I think we said that they have to hang off the building, they can't have a post, they can encroach up to 5 feet into the setback. And I think what the staff needs is, does it apply on all sides, or is it just specific to the front or the side or the rear? And my vote would be, it applies to all sides, and that they cannot be supported by poles that touch the ground. If the pole went in at a 45-degree angle and was supported into the building, it's still, in my opinion, hanging off the building. So I think that it would be okay, but poles that come straight down that touch the ground in the setback would probably, in my book, be a no.
No post to the ground, nothing in the, no post and the clear vision I always talk about. I believe that's the same thing that we all just discussed last week. So we have a straw poll.
Can the awnings be, I just really want to ask a quick question. Can the awnings be supported by your side fence?
No.
No. They're across the street from me. It's a perfect example.
No, I know,
Rather
I
than
know,
the
but like,
awnings that are
could I
attached to the
put one
house.
off of my, I mean, I have a heavy duty wood fence, could I put one off of that? Cause that seems like it would be inappropriate.
That is inappropriate.
There would be, then it's a carport.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Oh, you have a carport.
Oh, I'm gonna build one.
So maybe we should just,
I'm not-
what about,
I'm just saying, is it like the awning has to be attached to the building or can it be attached to another structure? Like it's,
I would say an awning would probably be, if we don't have a definition, we would define it to be something that is kind of an architectural feature that's attached to the building,
and not the
but
side.
not supported from
Yeah,
it,
it's
because
really
that
for
becomes a
shade.
covered porch.
Yeah.
Get you out of the rain, it's to get going on the front
Yeah.
door of a restaurant, or to keep the snow off you, or to keep some shade on you. But it's not like,
But I couldn't
big
attach one
roof where
to
you
my
park your car.
side, I couldn't attach one to my side fence and make it.
no, because your fence is probably on your property.
No, at that point you're making.
That's
a
true.
whole-
It's in the
whole
5%
bunch.
setback.
Your fence is on your, is on your setback?
It's on my, no, it's on my property line.
Right.
So this would still be, you're saying it could encroach into the 5-foot setback.
Okay, can I get you to back up to the first question? Front, side, and rear?
All
Oh,
sides.
So do
no
we have
problem.
consensus
All
on
sides.
that?
Yes, aye, aye.
All sides, no poles.
All sides, no
No,
poles.
pole.
Nothing touches the ground.
Right, that's a better way of putting it.
Excellent work, love it.
Next.
Or fences.
Matt, do you have anything to
Or
add? Or we good?
fences?
No, we're not talking about fences.
No, I think we're good. I mean, I think in the existing code, it says awnings and similar shade structures, so we'll just have to, I don't know if similar shade structures is necessary, but at least in the definition, make it clear that it has to be supported solely by the building or structure that it's attached to.
Yes,
I agree.
Yeah,
yes.
can you just call it awnings, and then in your definition for awnings, you could add similar or shade structures as part of what the definition for an awning is?
Yeah, I don't know what is similar to an awning that's not an awning.
Yeah, I think our purpose of this code
Awning's
change
an
is
awning.
to clear it up. Awnings are awnings.
Right.
Awnings are awnings, but it does like count, it doesn't count against your impervious, like, that's why I'm saying, like, it's a big deal, like, cause you could add a bunch of awnings off of your, I don't,
If you walk out your door, say you have a side door, if you walk out your door, I like me personally, when I think of an awning, is like the Wayne Place, for example, had a big sweet fabric awning
yeah.
that attached to the building. That's what I consider like awnings. Now, when you start getting into shingled roofs areas and all kinds of stuff like that, it starts getting a little gray.
It does, and I think we could probably mitigate that through our definitions and our illustrations.
Correct.
To be really clear, here's what we mean by an awning, and here's why we're allowing it to encroach into a setback. You know, this, not this.
Specific.
People even these days have the ones that are, you know, let's say they were on the back of your house and you had your deck and they roll out.
Yeah, no, that's what I
And
have
they
to
roll back in.
but you could put
That's an
that,
awning.
but you could put it
That's
on
not a
a
roof.
fence, you could
It's
put it
not-
on,
It's not permanently
there's
open.
so many now.
My
Okay,
awning that I had down on the 100 block of Main Street, it had shingles and stuff on it, but it did not touch the ground in the front. The purpose for that awning, FYI, was put on there only because a snow plow came through the front door. They wanted to stop the snow plows from coming through the snow, and so they put the awning on there. That's why it looks.
Another part of intern history,
Same,
Daryl.
same reason the walls in front of the Wayne Place, Daryl,
Yes.
from the snowplows.
Wow.
So
I can see that.
to that point, I mean, I just realized that, you know, this discussion about whether or not an awning could be something with shingles. I mean, people do overhangs over their windows and stuff for passive solar purposes to heat and cool their home. That might be, there might be value in including that and having that as one of these similar shade structures. And allow that sort of thing to encroach into a setback.
What do we currently use, for example, like a front porch or a current overhang? Is that, we definitely currently have something that says overhangs are counted impervious area or
Mine's
something,
covered.
No.
something along those lines. What's it currently, Scott?
The overhangs are not, they can encroach into a setback by 18 inches, but overhangs, no matter where they are, do not count towards impervious.
Yeah, but
I would recommend that they should, because,
I'm not saying anything about them counting at all.
okay,
I'm just saying 18 inches is
Count
currently.
towards lot coverage in Eagleville. and it's
How
something-
far into the setback? If you're talking about a 5-foot setback on a building and you're talking an awning,
Mine covered.
you're gonna have a 5-foot awning, probably, maybe 4.
maybe.
But then how does that, on side setbacks, I question whether that's a smart thing to do with fire.
I agree, I know you're going, because again, if we're gonna talk about
Front and back, maybe.
roofed structures and allowing a roofed shingled structure on the side of a building,
Bad.
and it's gonna be allowed to be 5 feet into the setback, and you have 5 feet setbacks on both sides, you're gonna have awnings touching each other.
No, I actually thought about that today, actually. And on sides, I don't think we should allow them on sides at all
But
because
mine's on the side.
it's existing.
Not anymore.
It's existing, man.
Yeah, I think Scott and Mike are correct. Don't put it on the sides.
But if the front door is on the side of the building.
It's a side door.
Well, okay, so the roof, assuming we keep it the way it is now, a roof overhang can encroach 18 inches into a setback. Doesn't matter if it's front, rear, or side.
That's always now.
I see what you're saying, though. If an awning can encroach into a front or rear setback, great, but we need to limit, I guess where I'm heading is if you're going to allow a roof overhang to encroach 18 inches into a setback, and you want to limit the amount of encroachment into a side yard setback, maybe it's 18 inches. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think,
It doesn't make sense of the idea of doing it, what it's gonna do, that's about this much, but it makes sense in what you're saying, yes.
Right.
I think some of the setbacks are pretty
18
substantial.
inches is better than nothing if you're standing, like, knocking on somebody's door in the rain.
No, it makes a hell of a,
Well,
I actually have it on it, okay, on my
I do
front.
too.
I actually-
have one too.
I actually have an awning that it's probably 2 feet on my front garage that's 9 feet from the property line that works well going in the door when you're not getting rained on,
okay.
and a fabric awning. Now, the question is 5 foot minimum fire wise or whatever it is, you know, nothing can go, you always have to keep your minimum open, regardless of what it is and whatever everybody else thinks about the size. Your awning can't go into anything. I don't think you want to go into your setbacks. Or if they do, ask Daryl, he's the fire guy.
Front and back's different, side is a big deal.
Front, you have 10-foot setbacks, back you've got bigger setbacks. I don't have so much of a problem with it there. I have a major problem with it between 2 buildings and 5-foot setbacks.
Mine's my front setback, by the way.
Yes.
Just for clarity.
Mine's in my side setback, but there's no building in front of me, it's a road. But it definitely almost touches the property line. And it's,
Don't change it.
Your grandfather did.
Don't change
Your grandfather did, but if you think of it on side setbacks, think of it as if you're a firefighter trying to throw up a ladder and climb up that ladder with that airbag on the back of you. You're gonna snag up on those.
The ladder won't set.
It's got awnings in there,
And what about it burning?
The ladder
Well, you're trying to
won't,
climb up that
the
ladder.
ladder won't set because of the angle.
Yeah.
It'll hold it
I
off.
don't think you should.
I mean, I agree on the side setbacks, like, I agree, like, most of our houses are so close, like ours, like, it would be weird. So, I agree now
Okay.
on the.
Only front and rear.
Only front and rear.
Only front and rear. All in favor? Eric?
Aye.
Y'all do not want to keep the existing 18-inch encroachment allowance into the side setback.
No,
awnings.
That's not for awnings, that's for roof over.
I
That's
know.
for roof over.
We're keeping.
we're not turning awnings into roofs.
No.
We're just talking awnings right now.
You're
Well,
saying
y'all
can't-
were the ones who brought up shingled awnings, that kind of makes them a roof feature at some point.
That was, yeah.
Well, if we do a good job with defining a roof overhang or providing illustrations, same thing with awnings. Matt, you brought up the point of, shade structures and where you draw the line from an architectural kind of roof feature that we see in a lot of designs now that have to do with passive solar and all that kind of stuff, or blocking. I think that's where we need to spend some time, is trying to make clear the difference between these things. But what I'm hearing is front and rear, you can encroach with an awning 5 feet, no more than 5 feet into a front or rear setback, but side, 0.
Correct. But I would just add that in the definition, that you do something that, at least my intention would be to describe this as an awning is something that is, for lack of a better way of explaining it, like built by a third party. It's something you buy.
It's not part of the
Attach it to
building
your
architecture, yeah.
It's
It
not,
has something to do with being made
it's
out
not
of
made
fabric.
of building
canvas
materials
or
as part of
something.
your house. It's not shingled, it's not a roof, it's not.
I like that idea.
I
Because they,
I
you know,
own Jeff's
awnings probably
property.
don't hold a lot of snow. They probably
Yeah, it
don't
doesn't have
have
to
a lot of
meet the
structural
snow,
integrity.
yeah.
I just like the boat.
They hold, they can block you from the wind or the rain, but they're not gonna hold.
It's not like
It's
snow
not
loads, things like
They
that.
don't meet building codes probably.
Okay. I think I got it. Do you have it? Okay.
All right, number 4, we talked about
Wait
it.
a minute, wait a minute.
sorry.
Do we have a poll on that?
On what?
That
Yes,
Yes,
We're doing it
oh,
only on front and back and only up to 5 feet.
yes.
Thank you.
Number 4, we discussed heavily last week, and Jeff, again, was pretty clear, and I thought that we had a consensus on flush patio designs only and at ground level, not 30-inch decks. Jeff, do you remember what you?
What I remember was my discussion on decks was to not consider them to be impervious.
And that being said, no decks. Decks are not included in patios, terraces, unless only patios, terraces. I didn't even know what I Googled what terraces meant, because there's a lot of different.
We don't have terraces here.
There's a lot of different things. What it needs to be impervious, and it needs to be at ground level.
but, so sometimes that ground level isn't all the same grade. Is that where that 30 inches came into? Because that was my question.
This is in the setbacks.
If it was on like a hillside and you started at ground level, but you wanted to keep the patio level, so therefore it became not on grade.
Right. That gets a little trickier, right? And that's up to the designer of the building and the builder to make sure that they're maintaining that 30. That is intended so you don't have a structure or even a boulder wall supporting a at-grade patio that's perched up in the air, right? It literally should be something that's at grade if we're going to allow something in a setback. Does that make sense? So there's not impediments that you can't, and it goes to access for firefighting and other things, that you don't have a deck structure or a patio and boulder wall complex that's inhibiting passage through that or otherwise use of that setback area, which oftentimes are utility easements as well. So it's really to allow for those things or encourage them. And I also would say it doesn't necessarily matter if they're impervious or not. That gets calculated elsewhere.
Doesn't matter if, can we reduce it to, I mean, if everybody's thoughts I understand what Amanda said, can we reduce it to 15 or something versus 30 is pretty, I don't know. What's everybody else's? That's pretty high to be in this.
It's also pretty standard language for most codes. 30 inches is kind of the cutoff for what most jurisdictions consider at grade. And that also has to do with safety. If you get above 30 inches, you tell me, Jeff, but I think that's when you have code issues for railings or things like that to keep people from taking a header off of a deck or off of a raised patio that's more than 30 inches. So
Again,
it's a
this should
safety
just be
thing.
front and side, not rear setbacks. That would be my poll. Or for the need for further clarification, now that.
Well, we did, what's not clear in this is how far into the setback is it allowed to go?
I mean, all the way, I'm going to put stone all the way to the river.
So one way I've seen this handled in a lot of different HOA type documents or even PUD standards is there's an allowance for there's no maximum encroachment, so they can go right up to the property line. But then there's a statement that says so long as there's adequate room for firefighting access, utilities, drainage, those types of things. So it could be more subjective and based on our review here at the DRB.
But we're not talking about stream setback here.
No, because historically, think about a lot of downtown houses where you've got the 5-foot setback and you have someone with a fence down the property line. And the house is 5 feet from the fence and the house is 5 feet from the fence. And a lot of those houses might have a sidewalk going all the way down the side of the house and all the way down the other side of the house so that people can access the side door or whatever. And rather than saying, no, you can't do that, it's gotta be grass, this is allowing that to happen.
But this
Okay,
would
I
be
can take my
pervious.
side.
I'd like,
Nothing to do with it.
It doesn't have anything to do with it. I agree with front side
But it
and
has
rear.
nothing to do with it, other than you're not changing your impervious
No,
surface
I mean,
by allowing a
you're-
bigger deck out in the back.
No, you still have to meet your pervious and impervious. This doesn't take away or allow you any more than that. It's
Oh, I
just
see,
saying
so
if
when you're
you,
doing out the house,
if
okay.
just if
Yeah,
you,
okay.
your design works out so that you have a sidewalk going in your 5-foot setback right on down the property line, this allows you to do it. But you still
It
have
still
to
has
meet.
to follow the code,
Correct.
yep.
I love it. Front side and rear. I
Okay.
pull.
And so I think we're saying it applies to all setbacks.
Yep.
And it does not, it applies to uncovered patios, terraces, and improvements. And because again, I think we also talked about, for me, a covered patio is part of your house. It's just an outdoor.
I think we just add uncovered and
Which goes to building coverage.
add uncovered.
With no limitations whatsoever.
You don't get to put part of your house out there and have a outdoor place to watch the game on your 80-inch big screen and your fire pit and everything else. That's different.
So what are we going with? We're gonna go with the way it's written and add uncovered.
It applies to uncovered patios, terraces.
It applies to.
It applies.
So you could
As
have,
long
you
as it
can have an
follows
uncovered patio, terrace, or deck
In
under
the-
30 inches, so long as it's uncovered to encroach.
Correct.
And I also heard that Amanda was okay with
Side.
allowing that front,
All
Rear
sides.
and sides.
all sides.
All sides.
All sides.
So two different straw poll votes. Go.
First one, all sides.
All sides.
So we do have clear consensus on all sides.
Uncovered patio, only uncovered patios, terraces, and similar improvements.
Eric, what say you?
Eric?
I say yes,
Didn't we
all
just
sides.
vote for that? What was the, what did we just
No,
vote for?
different. One was just on site and all.
Where? And the other was uncovered.
The other was uncovered.
Oh,
Uncovered all sides.
all right.
Thank you, Eric.
Sorry, I'm a long ways away here.
I know, we're way out.
Hello down there. All right.
We're way out here.
Well, okay, oh,
Parapet walls,
all right.
No,
we decided on that,
authorized exceptions to maximum building height. Parapet walls, yep.
and that, we decided on those.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think
No
that,
question, and there's no question in here on it, I'm just saying it.
I think that we completely decided on it, and I think it was unanimous, which is great. I do think that, and maybe it just hasn't been changed yet. Maybe we need a little bit more clarity, but it refers to it again, and I don't think it's a good idea to wait till 98. It refers to it again in 98 that the midpoint between the eave and the highest point of gable, gambrel, hip, shed, mansard, or other similar pitched roof areas. I think that we made it pretty clear that it was top of plate
We got it.
to the ridge, right?
We just haven't changed.
Yes.
We put in the same.
I didn't know, and then I think we also agreed that parapets were 3 foot.
Yep. Just haven't changed that document yet.
Same with the next one.
Thank you for that clarity.
We are not allowing elevator enclosures to exceed the maximum height of the building.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
see no problem in that either, and we said that was unanimous also. Next is,
yeah.
So
Chocolate factory, I was still just not.
I don't want to spend any time on the elevator enclosure thing, but I may
Boycott
Push
us.
back?
push back.
I know, I'm pushing back too. If we were voting on it right now, I would be not voting.
So I had a conversation with an architect friend of mine who does a lot of commercial and residential work in this valley for the last 45 years. And I just said, what's the requirement? You know, in what situation would a town or any other place need to allow for additional height for an elevator, you know, whatever, shaft? And, you know, his contention was that most of the buildings in Minturn are probably not going to go above 3 stories. Which most of those are going to be hydraulic lift, which may not need the same type of additional height as say a 6-story building that's going to be a different type of elevator that's going to have additional clearance requirements. But then he brought up the fact, you know, he does this, he drifts off into other cool things. He's like, well, what about rooftop decks and stairwells to get people up there? And the clear, same thing. And you want to encourage those types of things in the 100 block. So you might want to think about allowing extra height, at least 10 feet, for those types of things, or for cool shade structures that are on top of a rooftop deck where they're serving food or whatever. So just thinking about those things, we don't have to address that tonight, but it added context to this whole conversation.
we talked about that before because there was a building who wanted to do that and we shot it down.
Well, it never got that far.
So how about,
Yeah, it
what about just on the 100 block?
Yeah. And that was the context of the conversation, was 100 block, because he was involved in the first conversations that we had in the charrettes that we had for the 100 block 5 or 6 years ago. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't want to belabor this. If the direction is to not allow additional height, I think that's your direction. But we might circle back to this and think about either things within the design standards that would allow a case-by-case review of those. His other suggestion is if there's a concern about the perception of that type of element exceeding the height as viewed from Main Street or anywhere else, require that they're at the, you know, essentially the back of the building, the side of the building. So they're integrated a certain way.
No.
No what?
We already went through this when a building came in before us like that. I mean,
What?
you're talking about a 3-story
What
building,
building?
which could be 35 feet with a 10-foot elevator shaft on it, which is 45 feet high.
I don't have
We're not talking about that at all.
I don't
Which
remember
building?
that coming in at all.
No.
I don't have an issue with the top of it being at the top of the parapet wall, but if we're going to consider anything in regards to higher than that, I think it should be, or variance should be required.
Yeah.
And go from there. That's what I think, and go from there.
Okay.
Because then you have all of the public like conversation, everything like that.
It's a big deal. It's going to be a big deal, and it should be full blown public. So, want to agree on variances, Jeff? Hands for variances?
Well, just
No, it's
it would
not
just
even-
it would just be it's not allowed, and then if there's a case by case basis where someone says, well, we've got this cool building, it meets all your height and setbacks and stepping back of elements, but we need this extra element, and we say, well, sorry, it's not allowed, so you're going to have to request a variance.
And it may have
Then
not,
we'll do that.
it may not have been a specific plan brought to us, but it was a conceptual that was brought to us.
Okay.
Well, it's still what I'm talking about then
Clarify that.
is a 2-story building,
2-story building, I understand.
with a rooftop deck.
Right, but if you're talking about 3 stories and taking an elevator and putting a
But
tent
it is the
on
third,
top of
it is the third story. If you're up on the, if you're standing up there on a rooftop deck above 2 stories, you're on the 3rd story.
Jeff,
You wanna put any type of a,
So what is the
if
top
it
height?
falls within the height, is what Jeff's saying, if it falls within the height, if it falls within the height, it falls within the height.
where you're standing might fall within the height, but what Scott just said, and what I'm talking about is if you wanna put some shade over that to protect the people up on the rooftop, standing on the 3rd floor, or you wanna put stairs to get, you gotta get up there. So what are you gonna do? Are you gonna climb out of a hatch on the floor? No, you gotta have a door and get up to a landing and go out a door to get out on that. Well, the top of that door is gonna have a little roof on it. Well, that might be over the height limit.
And
That's the same door you gotta walk out to get out of an elevator that pushes you up from below. You don't need another 11 feet, but you might need 8 feet.
I do remember this conversation, Jeff, because when we had this conversation, I said, I said, you know, especially being in the music business that you're in, that when I was in, you know, in Knoxville, that really cool part of downtown, but that was in Knoxville, and I think you sort of got outvoted from what I recall.
Maybe, but I'm just saying, like, you
But
got.
do we limit that, like, extension to 10 feet in just the 100 block? I mean, my concern is like MU1, it would then be 10 feet in MU1, MU2, and MU3.
Yeah, what if Kirby's put a 2nd story on and had apartments on the 2nd story?
And then
there was a rooftop deck on top of those apartments.
Exactly, and then you have another 10 feet on top of that.
And then they had to get outside. There was an elevator because it had to meet ADA.
And you put it on the back alley.
It would be potentially
Put it on the back alley.
it could be any zone district.
It,
Could be any zone district.
But even R3, we could even do it, but they don't allow elevators.
Okay, so
How about
It would be MU1, 2, 3, and 100.
do we want to agree that do we want to think about currently allowing it just on the 100 block? Or do we want to keep it, or do we want to keep it no? Or do we want to keep it no? What do you
I'm
want, Lynn?
so tired about arguing height in the 100 block. We've got it in the code where it works. You get 3 stories on the back street, you get 2.5 on Main. And everybody agreed to that. It took us how long to get to that point? Now we're talking about changing it again.
All right, so nothing.
well, no, we're not talking about changing it. It is this way right now.
Right, it
We
is.
allow 10 feet extra height for parapet walls and elevator enclosures right
They can do
now.
it now.
In 100 block.
On top of that, in any
Right,
zone
and so
district.
what we're
So-
saying is, do we still want to allow it that way, or do we want to not allow it?
Correct.
Right.
I vote not allow.
I vote not allow.
Yeah, and I'm not there. I vote that it stays the same. I mean, especially.
I'd like to see it stay the same.
I will not allow.
There we go.
3-2.
There's 3. There's Eric.
Eric?
Not allow.
I'm sorry.
I say stay the same, but I don't know if I count because
You always count,
This is
Eric.
legislative and you count.
So it's
Okay.
3.
No, 3 doesn't
Motion
count.
fails.
Let's Rochambeau.
We love you, Eric, for sure, and we appreciate everything you do, but we can't have it. We can't have you.
I vote stays the same in 100 block, not allowed in MU1, 2, and 3.
Not allowed anywhere else,
I
residential.
so we just need 3 on this. We have the 3 that what do we do? What do you got, Amanda? Spit it out again.
The issue is that you have 3 for each side.
Right.
What's that?
We have 3,
Three
4,
for
and
each
3
3.
doesn't. Alternate doesn't get the vote
Yeah,
unless someone's
This
missing.
is
Yes,
not
he
a live
does.
vote.
It's
Huh?
not,
he does.
He
This
does.
is just discussion direction. This is not a
and
live vote.
3-3.
Oh my God! All right, I still love you, Eric, but so nothing personal.
So.
sorry, buddy.
Here's a suggestion. If we were to keep it the way it is and carry that forward to council and tee that up as one of those issues that we need them to make the final discussion and provide some pros and cons or some different perspectives from the planning commission, and you can help us articulate what those perspectives are, then we'll do that.
It's up to
Or-
their choice anyway.
That, if this were like a real vote, the 3-3 tie is a failure. The vote fails. So then we're back to square one. So you can start lobbying Eric, or Eric, you can start lobbying Amanda. We could do like a Rochambeau to get more consensus.
So the way I look at it is you have potential 45-foot structures, elements that are going to back up to, it's gonna be, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to make these streets much bigger because I don't have all of our streets. So it's not just Eagle River that's gonna be impacted, but you have, what is that street?
Williams?
No, it's the weird one like Alder Street.
That is not a street in our town.
What is this street right here?
Massachusetts.
What is this one? What is the street name?
Get your magnifying glass.
Where? Right here.
Boulder.
Boulder? Boulder Street you're gonna have an impact on.
Do we allow 35 feet?
You already do. You have MU1, you could potentially go up to 45. So you're gonna have impact on Boulder Street. You're gonna have an impact on, definitely on, down. I'm just making my case. Pine Street. You're gonna have impact on Eagle River Street.
Where does MU1
MU1
butt up to Pine Street?
Yes, MU3 does.
Does it
So,
even
and then
go
MU3 does, but you're saying it's gonna, 10 feet could go up to 38 feet.
Keep in
on
mind that
MU3s.
if it's an elevator structure, if we're talking about potential impacts, you're saying it's definitely going to have an impact. We don't know that.
No, but I'm saying,
And it's not going to be an entire wall of a building. It's going to be a small portion of a building. And so those are the things that I would encourage you to keep in mind when you're making blanket statements like this is, it's going to,
MU3 has a building
We don't
height
know that.
maximum of 28 feet.
it's up
yeah,
to
but
the
it's only
designer.
10 feet over that, which would be 38.
Yes, but you were talking about 45.
Yeah,
But
40
only for an elevator,
Only
not
for,
the whole building.
Right.
no, because if you do elevator or entry to, you guys were talking about this thing on top.
Same thing. It's like just
Is small.
a small enough to get out a doorway onto a rooftop.
But then you're up there.
38 feet.
Just that little element.
Yeah.
No, if it's up there to take people up to the top and you have people on the top, then you're up there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but the
but
building
it's not, you're not
structure
building
itself.
a giant structure that's
Right.
that tall, you're just building that little box.
It's gotta be a 5 foot, 6 foot by 6 foot box.
Correct. But not a,
It's
not
bigger
a
than
30
this
foot
table.
wide.
Oh, here's an idea.
Double than this table.
Sorry you brought it up, huh, Scott?
I am. But we need to be exhaustive in this process so we don't wind up back here again. What if there was an allowance for up to whatever, 10 feet, 8 feet, 12 feet, whatever we think is the right number, either based on your knowledge and experience, or we get another architect in here and talk to us about what typically happens when you design an elevator. But limit it to a maximum percentage of a building's facade or bulk and mass. To say you can't have, if you're gonna have a element that exceeds the height requirement, it can't be more than 5% of a building facade or something like that. And maybe that's arbitrary, I don't know.
I think that's, as far as that goes, Scott, I think that's somewhat reasonable, but I think that a good portion of us, pay attention, man. A good portion of our concern is that, if we added that percentage with no doors opening onto the roof area, if you just want the thing sticking up so you can go up and down to get to your levels in a small corner of the building that's wrapped, probably isn't a big of an issue as opening up your whole roof to another level.
Well, okay, you're saying you don't wanna see rooftop decks?
Yes,
Okay,
especially if it relates to loud music in downtown area.
okay, we're kinda getting into the weeds.
I know.
I'm
But
actually not
that's where I'm
saying that.
going with this in my head. You've got a first of all, we don't allow a full 3-story building downtown. unless you're on William Street, correct?
No, we allow the incentive floor on 100 Block A.
Yeah.
So it's smaller, but it's still.
It's smaller, it's set back, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Then you put up an elevator shaft up there and you open that up, you're going beyond 3
Well,
stories.
the elevator shaft really would be to serve the floors of the building, not necessarily to serve a rooftop deck. You know, we're kind of leaping to this what-if scenario. The reason why I brought up the access to the rooftop deck was because that's what my friend brought up as, well, if you're talking about the 100 block and the goal of the 100 block is to encourage economic development and redevelopment and these cool things going on rooftop decks and stuff, you want to accommodate that. You need to think ahead to how you're going to gain access to those things. And he was right. That's what our 100 block design guidelines say right now.
Yeah, that's why I said fine in the 100 block. But I think when you start looking at these tight streets, and I have a different opinion than Lynn, I love rooftop decks. That's not what my concern is my concern is that the sun is precious. When you start, I think you're looking at 6 foot by 6 foot structures on top of these decks for these elevators that are quite large and can create quite a big shadow. And I feel like sometimes we are adding considerable amount of volume, and to add another 10 feet, that's 6 foot by 6 foot, is a lot on some of these lots. Especially when you're looking at neighboring that's residential and have backyards and smaller homes. I
can agree with that.
I think it's not the rooftop decks that I'm concerned about.
A better explanation Amanda just gave that I agree with Amanda, but exact specifically, and with Lynn, but we still might be at an impasse in where we're moving forward. Anybody change their mind?
No.
Okay, so I think
Thank
that
you, Michael.
I think that's.
We have direction. It's not the direction.
But I think what
we
you
want,
said as
but-
far as moving forward, just having council see what they think and
So that's
go.
when we'll have like some kind of competition.
Yeah.
Right in front of council.
I like
Yes, I love that.
I love competition.
You see yourself.
But council's
I drank 5 Hour Energy, so I'm.
council's the boss, you know.
All right, thank you. I know that you said it. I'm not sure I wanted to go there, but, okay. So we'll move on from that. Any further direction on maximum building height exceptions?
You clarified what I commented on, so I think that we're done there.
Yep.
Okay.
No more
Staff
mention.
recommended that
Yes,
the table of authorized exceptions to building height standards be further refined to better tailor the exceptions to the different types of improvements that are allowed to exceed the maximum building height.
What number is that, Lynn?
Page 7, and it's the bullet point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Number 7?
So I think,
Number 6, number 7, 6. Oh, 7, yes, I'm sorry,
about-
I counted that one.
what about impervious surface?
Yeah, I thought we skipped over impervious surfaces.
6 on page 75.
Yeah, we skipped over that.
I think we clarified the sort of roof overhang. Well, I don't know. Go ahead, somebody.
I'm looking at the minutes, who's looking at this?
Okay.
I apologize, yeah.
Lynn is very good at impervious, so. Anybody else? Go ahead, Lynn.
What I'm very good on impervious surfaces areas is measured as the area of a lot that is covered by any non-permeable material that prevents absorption of water into the ground. The area of the following improvements are not included in the measurement of the impervious surface.
Roof overhangs, porches, patios, terraces, and other similar improvements that are permeable. And this is where I said, I don't think decks should be considered anymore. They're considered now as impervious. I don't think that decks should be considered to be impervious anymore.
So Jeff, would it say porches, patios, terraces, comma, decks?
Yes, but my problem with porches, I think that where it gets a little gray is the last part of the sentence. So if it said porches, patios, terraces, and decks, and other similar improvements that are permeable, it gets a little This is why we argued in the first place as to what, is a deck permeable or not, and I say it is,
Depending on how you space it, right?
depending on how you space it.
So could we provide a definition that makes clear what permeable means?
We're gonna need it.
And Matt, certainly jump in because this is your work, and I agreed with the concept that you provided for us because I think it gets us out of this and provides some it allows us to, and the DRB to essentially make a judgment call. And it's up to the designer, the architect, to present evidence that here's the material we're using and here's how we're spacing the decks. So it's them proving to you it's permeable.
Yeah, I think, and then this is, we can really get into the weeds here. But
Yeah, but I mean, I like the way Matt.
I really like the way that it's written.
Yeah.
So yeah, the intent here is to try and simplify what's in the code today, and try and just say impervious surface area is any area of your lot that doesn't allow water to absorb into the ground. And the reason roof overhangs is in there is because that comes from the existing code. And I think it's important if roof overhangs are not included, that be clearly stated. And then porches, patios, terraces, etc. That was included based on the discussion at the last meeting. I think, that's not that bullet point could be omitted because it again, as Scott said, it's kind of on the applicant to demonstrate this. Whatever I'm doing is permeable. And so it's going to still allow water to absorb it into the ground and leave the burden on them to prove that. So it's included there because of last week's discussion. With that said, I think the way this is worded would also allow for that bullet point not to be included.
So clarify my mind. If all of this stuff becomes considered permeable, does that mean somebody can just put permeable stone through their whole place? Because then there's no restriction as to how much can be permeable or non-impermeable?
People already do that. I mean, people put landscaping rocks in and we already consider that as permeable.
right. Instead of pouring a slab of concrete.
Yeah.
But does that mean then there's no green?
Potentially.
I mean,
Yeah,
we have it
potentially.
We
xeriscaping.
Yeah. No, we have minimum
Zero scaping
requirements.
has plants and things.
Yes.
And we do still
They could be
have
brown.
minimum requirements of trees per 1,000 square foot or shrubs per 1,000 square foot, depending on the zone district. And those aren't, as far as I'm aware, being proposed to change.
No, I would, a couple things. We already changed the landscaping to have more focus on water-wise, which pushes people more towards xeriscaping. And we expect to see more of that in the future, especially as water rates go up. And then the second thing is we will be mandated by the state of Colorado to integrate wildland urban interface code standards into our landscaping and other site design standards, in addition to our building code, that are going to further restrict the placement and type of vegetation around a structure. So getting at, the same thing that you've been preaching to Minturn North, which now has resulted in them getting a conscience and, oh, this is a good thing to put rocks around a building instead of bark mulch. That's gonna be more mandated in the future.
Are the native grasses considered xeriscaping?
Could, if
I think
they're,
they're on the list. Like,
yeah.
If they don't, it need water.
I think because you can go to Betty Gardens and they have that whole list
Yeah.
of what is, and I've looked at that just in our backyard, and most of them are.
Yeah, there's drought tolerant grasses and shrubs
Yeah.
and perennials and all sorts of stuff, but
But
this really doesn't get to the individual design of a landscape. It's just talking about whether or not a material is permeable or not.
And if it's figured into
Yeah.
your calculation.
It's figured into your calculation.
Here's my problem, and is we're exempting roof overhangs for a reason, because if I stood on the roof and I poured a 5-gallon bucket on the roof, it's gonna come right off the roof and fall down to the ground, right? All 5
Or
gallons.
if it's raining the rain's gonna still hit the ground.
To the ground.
It's gonna hit the ground right next to the foundation, even if you have a roof overhang, right?
It's gonna make it to the ground, so we're not considering roof overhangs to be impervious
Correct.
for this. My problem, and we're saying decks no more would be impervious, because if I pour the same 5-gallon bucket of water on the deck, it's all gonna go through the deck and make it into the grass. It's not gonna sit on the deck, right?
As long as you have
As long as you have space.
Right.
Because right now, the sidewalk in front of my house, which was put in by this town about 10 years ago, and the type of concrete they use, when it rains, it sits there in puddles, and in the winter, it turns to ice.
Right, but that's
That's what I'm trying to
a,
avoid.
that's a great thing, and that's where I'm going with this. My problem is, what if we're sitting in front of architects or engineers who are arguing that if I put in a sidewalk that's pitched, and I pour a 5-gallon bucket on that sidewalk,
No.
and it's pitched at 1%, it's gonna all go into the grass. But it's
Anything,
still impervious.
in my mind, this is really easy. If something is poured concrete or asphalt, unless it's a permeable asphalt, which the technology is questionable, it's impervious.
Correct.
If it's gravel or something other than one of those hard surfaces, then it's most likely permeable,
Correct.
right?
And
There's-
turf is permeable.
Correct.
Right?
Okay, nice.
A rock garden is permeable unless you've got a concrete layer underneath it. Like that, to me, this is really not that big of a deal.
What about
I-
the black stuff they lay down, so weeds don't come up?
That's still
Have
permeable.
fabrics.
That's
It's a
permeable.
Mirify fabric.
I don't think they used that up at the bunkhouse when they put it in under the rock on the hill. I think they used plastic, but that's years
Okay.
ago.
I think most building materials, I mean, when you get down in the weeds, they have some measurement of how permeable the materials are.
Yeah, and the whole point of this conversation from what I brought up about decks was just that a normal deck, when you put it down, whether it's Trex, composite, wood, whatever, it's got big wide
Right,
spaces.
and the water
And
goes.
if I pour a 5-gallon bucket on it, it's all gonna go right through the deck and make it to the ground and like that. So a deck shouldn't be considered an impermeable surface. And in most places.
As long as it
it's not.
says a deck has spacing in it. Definition clarified.
I think if they're built right, they all have spacing.
Yeah, I mean, they all have to have spacing because the
But it's
material
an
itself is
uncovered,
made to be
uncovered deck, not a, it's an uncovered deck.
Correct.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, so do we need to make that clarity?
Hmm.
Because I'm
I like it.
Uncovered.
Well, if it's a covered deck, it's gonna get figured
impervious.
it's gonna get figured in your lot coverage.
Yeah,
But I appreciate your clarity, because if it said uncovered porches, patios, decks, or terraces, then that's really clear.
yeah. Because as soon as you cover them with shingles.
Then it becomes.
Makes
lot
sense. Good job, man.
Thank you.
coverage. Okay, do we need a vote? Are we good?
I think I'm good.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we have direction, Matt? We're good?
Yeah, my only question about uncovered is you have those pergolas, which are permeable.
Yeah, they don't
Pergolas
hold
don't hold
water.
any water.
Yeah, no, they're like slats.
Right, but it could be considered, I mean, I guess, is that considered
Can we
a
add
covered?
pergola in there?
A percolate that's on the ground?
Well, if you say uncovered porches, patios, terraces, decks, and other similar improvements that are permeable, somebody could argue that a pergola is a covering.
Well, I hear what you're saying. I would not consider a pergola covered, but could we say unroofed?
I can't.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Well, can we look up the definition of pergola or make a definition that says that it's open?
Let's see.
I think it
I mean,
was,
we've got one right here in the gardens.
Yeah.
It's totally open.
Oh, I know, okay, I know what you're talking about.
But somehow in the definition of pergola, so that if they look in here, they can see that that's open, even though it's sort of covered. Somehow there we might be able to get a clarification.
And that's not, that picture I had is not.
I know what it
I would
is.
call a pergola.
I know.
So, just to backtrack just a bit, Matt had suggested if we want to rely on the definition or the intent statement of permeability, we could get rid of this bullet point, but what I'm hearing is that we keep this bullet point, we further clarify that it includes decks, and that it's either unroofed or uncovered structure.
Unroofed or uncovered, I like that.
And if it includes decks, it's not a solid deck. Jeff, you know what I'm talking about? A solid deck with a membrane on top of it?
No, that is impervious.
Yes, that is correct. So it's not like,
Membrane is
it's not like a floating deck,
No.
Go ahead, Scott, clarify that.
Could we do another bullet point that just separates pergolas and then have a definition for pergolas that clarifies that it's open? Not including it in that other porches, patios, terraces, and similar improvements.
Pergolas could be interpreted like 8,000 ways, probably, if you looked it up on the internet.
Yeah.
They can have hard tops.
Huh?
I like
They can have hard tops on them.
I like
Then it's a roof.
uncovered, unroofed. Cause that covers both,
Covers everything.
covers everything,
Hard tops.
uncovered, unroofed. It's gonna be my new theme line.
Okay, we'll run with that, and if we need to come back to this and add further clarification, we can do that.
Okay.
I thought this was gonna be a quick meeting, so I didn't need to know.
Number 7, building height measurement standards. The planning commission provided direction to measure building height for structures of buildings with pitched roofs as the vertical distance between finished, natural, or established grade, whichever is more restrictive, and the midpoint between the top of the uppermost wall plate and the peak of the roof.
We clarified that, but Jeff was talking about more specification in regards to the lot being, when you backfilled as that, how that applied, so.
Yeah, that was the next topic down.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There was discussion about just measuring building height using the finished grade around a structure or building and not natural or established grade. Need to clarify whether there was consensus from the planning commission on this, and I thought there was.
Okay.
Yeah, which is back down at the bottom where staff suggests adding language similar to the following: finished grade shall not be artificially raised to increase the maximum building height. And my problem with that statement is, what is the definition of artificially raised and where is the threshold at which you can apply that?
Especially if you have bad soil and you have to move, right?
Well,
Some people, or anything.
you buy a lot, you tear down the house that's on the lot now, and the grade at the front door is X today.
Yeah,
When
you
you
have to
tear it down, and you tear down the house and you put in a new house, and the new grade of when you walk up the front steps to the front door is now Y, and it's different. And so now you have theoretically, quote unquote, artificially raised the grade to a new grade that is not what the old established grade was.
Yeah.
And now you are arguing over what is the building height.
Yeah, cause I mean, Berwick and things with Minter North's grade changed by like 8 feet
Correct.
in some areas.
And you can't just go, well, it's PUD. So they can get away
Like
with
they
it.
needed to do a lot of the
Well-
grading because it came off the hillside and also they had the contaminated soils and.
Well, there's probably a lot of homes in town that have a lot of problems.
And then the lot itself, I think, was sloped
My
like
house
those
being one of
areas.
Like, again, my house, a lot of the homes on this side of Main Street are sitting below Main Street, and the house is flood because the water coming off Main Street, there's no curb and gutter.
I just think
Water
like
goes right off the road into the lot.
it's so expensive to change the grade of the house that if somebody is doing it, they're probably doing it for a very valuable, like it's an engineering reason,
Well, here you
bad
go.
soil reason,
So
like,
to your point,
so like why would you even?
if you buy a house that's now sitting below the road and you tear it down and you say, I want to raise the new grade, I want to raise the front door height, the first floor height above the road. But I don't have the money to bring it there. So I have to leave the old dirt, but I have to build some steps up to my front door now.
Yeah.
And the first floor elevation is now here instead of where it used to be. But the distance in my second story of my roof now is going to be measured to the old grade.
Sounds
And
like a
it may
design
become-
problem.
It might squeeze at your building height at that point because you can't afford to raise the grade on your lot.
I think on your specific one you're talking about, Jeff, I think you're like 8 foot. Aren't you like 8 foot down over at the studio?
Well, there are spots over there that are 8 foot below the road.
Oh, yeah.
The back of
Yeah,
that lot
it's big, yeah.
is 8 feet below the road.
So, back to the global discussion of what does established grade mean and how did we get to that point? I think that was strategically added to our current code to address those situations where we have existing developed lots and there's tear downs or whatever, and we don't know what the existing or natural grade was, right? It's gone. So this established grade forces an architect to kind of tie into the adjoining lots and extrapolate or interpolate lines that would have probably occurred in the original natural grade before the first house was built, right? So you establish this relationship between this structure, that structure, and the new structure, irregardless of the platform of the road or how the grading works, as a basis to make sure that the new house essentially fits from a building height standpoint and a bulk and mass standpoint with its neighbors. That was the whole intent of that, and how many times I think we've used that a few times. I think some of the rebuilds along the river. I'm not a big fan of getting rid of existing grade as one of the measurement points and just going with finished grade. There's a lot of instances where existing grade is going to be more restrictive, and then it becomes a design issue for someone to either step their building down the site or figure out how to address particular problems or ask for a variance.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to go on now, the reality is that now, and I don't think we used to, but now we require a recent topo survey on new builds. So that existing topo survey is the backup to say this is what the existing grade is.
Right.
Because now you have an existing new topo you have to provide to the town before you start the building process. So there are the established grades as your starting point. And if you show a plan with a finished grade that is so artificial that it raises a red flag, then obviously there's a problem. But if your new grade, let's say, is
within 5%.
If the grade here is below the neighbors, because that house is 150 years old, and you want to raise that by 2 feet and make it a little better, or maybe you want to make it so you can have real positive drainage of going away from your house instead of living in a hole. Well, then there's a situation where you're going to have to do that, and obviously every case is, we could go down a million rabbit holes of different scenarios that might fit this, but the reality is that I get where you're going if you're trying to protect against this hugely artificial raising of a grade of a lot to a point where it's stupid, and just filling in, piles of dirt into areas that shouldn't have fill in them or whatever. But I'm talking about correcting historically bad problems that are, why would you saddle somebody, a developer of a lot, with having to stick with something that somebody made a mistake when they set the grade of a house 100 years ago?
So would that be, if it's maybe not going to happen that often? That sounds like something that somebody could make a positive argument for a variance. Say, I have an unusual or extraordinary circumstance. Here's the history. Here's my situation. Here's why we're doing
I hear you. But I could say the same of your scenario. Okay. How many times is someone going to come in like Minter or say, I got to put in 12 feet of fill? That happens a lot on big developments.
It does.
That's why they make those giant earth movers, because they move the earth from this side of the site to the other, and they balance it.
In that instance, they're recreating the world, so to speak, right? So if they're raising or amending, they're doing overlap grading over 20 acres,
right?
All those homes are going to be on equal level playing field, so to speak, from a height calculation standpoint. And at the end of the day, they're all going to essentially.
It's going to make sense.
It's going to make sense. Village Homes, where I used to live, was the same thing. There were, first floors sticking out of the ground 10 feet in the air when they were, overlap grading all this stuff. But you look at it today, you can't tell because all the yards go up to the house, to your point, and the landscaping's mature, and no one would know that. But when they were building it, it looked ridiculous. Anyways, Eric, did you have something?
No, I just agree. I think it needs to be using the elevation maps, like doing the natural elevation and not raising it to where the natural elevation should be.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Michael,
I definitely understand Jeff's point, specifically, and if there was, an issue at the front, I think that we sort of need to keep it on a, sort of a special process, or else it'll go all over the place. When I built my place, I had to definitely step down the roofs and measure from the lowest point, and the lowest point was at the river. But in Jeff's also the fence, I understand what he's talking about with his specific property, but I have to agree with, I would vote that we can't change the whole thing for one specific or a few specific examples.
Yeah, again, I think we're probably hedging bets against things that are pretty rare. So.
Daryl?
So
Hold on.
are we polling then to
Hold
not?
on, we're not pulling yet. Daryl has a comment,
Sorry.
possibly.
I like what Scott's saying about architects trying to level it up with the neighbors and getting it going in that route. If there has to be a really drastic change, that's gotta be a variance. And I think approach it as variance. But you're not gonna have that much of a change here and there.
So I'm just trying to root us back into what the decision was. So the decision being, we're gonna leave building height to finished grade. But are we adding the language to finished grade not being artificially raised to increase the maximum building height? And I guess what you're saying is leave. I'm totally lost as to where we're gonna try to pull, whether we're gonna leave it as finished grade with finished grade equals existing grade. I just don't understand what we're trying to.
Right now, our code reads that we measure to the finished or existing or natural grade, whichever's most restrictive.
Okay.
Right? And I'm advocating as staff that you keep it that way. We're asking for, based on the previous discussions, maybe we didn't hear correctly, but there was a question as to whether there was direction to get rid of this existing natural grade thing and just measure off of finished grade.
As long as it wasn't artificially, I think we should just leave it as finished and existing grade, whichever is least restrictive.
Most restrictive.
Most restrictive.
So I think that we're going to have a show of hands, and who supports the additional language of finished grade shall not be artificially raised to increase the maximum building height. Is that correct? Show of hands time?
Well, wait a minute. Can we get a show of hands on the first question, which was, do we keep it the way it is now, where we're measuring to existing or finished, whichever's most restrictive?
Yes.
All in favor?
Yeah, just leave it that way.
Thank you.
Yes, sorry.
Unanimous. Okay.
So
I
confused.
don't think you should.
I
Now we'll
think
be
we
voting on the additional language. I say no.
I say no on adding the language.
So we're gonna leave it just the way it is.
Yeah.
Current.
We'll
With
leave
the
the
current
poll.
way to measure,
The current way.
the one that we brought up, we agreed on last week.
I think if you keep the existing language, you don't need this additional language.
Correct.
So it kind of nullifies it anyway.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that that language regarding artificially raising finished grade would be if you just had finished grade as the measurement point.
Great.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
well, that makes sense.
Well done.
It doesn't read that way, so it's hard to tell.
I know this is tough, but just think of all the times we won't have to argue about this the next time someone brings us a building.
No, but I am
Yeah.
gonna say, in the interest of, you know, full transparency, that the onus is going to be on our town staff to look at new plans and look at existing topo and say, looks like you're changing it a little, or looks like your finished grade is gonna be pretty close to what the old one was. And if there's a difference, it's gonna be up to the engineer to catch that. And if they don't, it's gonna be on us because we said that this is what it's supposed to be. So again, that's just kind of one of those situations where if we miss it, we miss it. It's not because of the language.
A good reason to keep the word established as well.
Correct.
And to define it.
Correct.
Established, yes.
All right,
Next.
Okay.
Last, the commission chair and other members asked for examples of rooftop ventilation units and parklets. Below, staff has provided photos examples for the commission's review. Additionally, staff provided photos of parapet walls and rooftop mechanical screenings in reference to previous discussions on parapet wall height maximums and allowance for additional building height.
Love it.
great.
Okay.
Cool. I think that the example on 77, I think all the examples show what they're supposed to show. I have to say, from being on a ton of roofs, the town of Vail has some amazing screening. Like, you can't even tell that it looks like it's part of the building wall, and you cannot tell.
You should take pictures of those.
Yes, the examples look very good, Matt.
Or
They're very expensive. But these are good examples.
I love
There's a few examples.
Okay, where did we leave off on the rest of the standards? Do you remember, Matt?
We hadn't gotten to the standards.
Okay.
So what page are we starting on 80 then? No, we're starting on
Well, did you want to go on to, you're okay with what we are on parapet walls then? I
Yes,
am.
we're good.
Okay. What about parkments?
We're good.
I like them.
Well,
I
so
have
the
questions.
example. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, in the last week, I've been to Frisco and I've been to Idaho Springs. In Frisco, they have a few parklets. Their street is privately owned. It is not a highway, so we cannot do ours along the highway, as Jeff said. In Idaho Springs, they put them up in the summer and take them down in the winter. That's something to think about because our snow plows. And if we're only going to do it on a side street, where then are they going to go? You could do one outside the distillery.
Right, yeah, you could put it on Nelson or Toledo.
Toledo.
Or Eagle.
But we're on Toledo because Toledo has 2 lanes and they have pull-off parkings on both
You
of
could
those
take
buildings.
a parking.
You have to
in
take the parking.
You'd have to get rid of more parking. And if you
Those are
read,
parking spaces.
yes, and if you read on this, the parklet has to have 4 feet on either side.
That's why
There's
it's
no
called
first
parking,
parking
it's not a parking
space.
space.
Yes, I read that. And then you're losing more and more and more of your parking.
True.
You're eliminating all the parking for the Scaraboo, all of the parking for Holy Toledo. You could do it on the side, the north side, but then that's only a 2-lane, that's a narrow street. That's only 42 feet or 40 feet. That street is narrower than it should be on Nelson. And I don't know, Steph's does he have a sidewalk on the side of that? I forget.
No,
No.
no, they don't have a sidewalk on that
I mean,
side.
I'm thinking it's more like on the backside of like Alpine kind and stuff like that, like
We
where,
could definitely do it there too.
yeah, like, that's where I see where
Behind it,
behind
in
it,
their parking spot
Because
for
think
the
about-
renters.
yeah, where they use, yeah, like so if they use it for their renters and tenants, but they can't do it right now. But that'd be like amazing for the summer, like where they, because right now Minturn, like Sunrise, there's no place for people to eat
I
anymore.
mean, that's a sweet spot back there.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's what I see like the most
Minturn
often.
Sunrise has no place to eat.
They take up all the sidewalk and there's people streaming out of it and it's packed inside and people are taking it to go and then eating on the river already. Because of the loss of the joint
Well,
space.
and I'm wondering, and I know this is a thought out there.
Chips is also.
There's chips.
Oh,
Dinner served.
Not eating candy, but I'm pretty hungry.
Speaking of Sunrise, in the old days when Doug was looking at that, he was originally looking at buying, what was her name, that half also, the other half, Campbell's, and expanding,
What about this end of that?
which could possibly be something too. But where would you put it for Sunrise? Behind a building, it doesn't really have space, does it? There's no space behind the building at Sunrise.
So are we looking, are we trying to discuss like?
We're not deciding where they go, we're just deciding we wanted some pictures of what it was.
Well,
Yeah.
and I believe
That's it, right?
later on in use-specific standards, we have some standards for parklets.
No, we do, 112.
My notes on this, as I was going through it today, my notes are, you know, obviously, yes, we lose parking. You know, of course, as I just repeat myself, we definitely don't want them in clear vision, obviously.
Good point.
So we don't want them in clear vision. And I, basically, I think that we need to figure out, we lose parking, we don't want them in the clear vision. And we need to figure out, they need to be movable at a pretty quick pace, and we need to figure out the time allotted that they get to sit in that place. But my main note on this is we need, you know, it'd be nice to hear, whether it's going the opposite direction or not, it'd be nice to hear what, you know, the council thinks, or, you know, I mean, they're the ones that are gonna decide.
I mean, my guess is we'd have to have them removed for the winter. Because snowplows aren't gonna issue that.
They definitely can't be there in the winter, they can't be in,
But yes, I agree they should be removable for the winter.
But again, we haven't gotten to the standard yet, that would be in the standards, so I
I
think.
mean, we're not having,
from a
I don't think we're having a
photo-
discussion over whether we do them or don't do them. I think we're just, this
Yeah,
was
pictures.
just saying, we needed some examples, some illustrations and pictures of what they were.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to see
We've got
what they
pictures
look like.
now, so that we're done.
Okay.
So my recollection is that we did get quite a ways through the use-specific standards, or at least part of the way through those.
Well, we need to start tonight on page 98.
I thought we were on
Where are
80.
the use standards? What page?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, I thought we had spent time already on general use standards. We had gone through those, and we had already gone
Yes.
through quite a few of the use-specific standards.
Yeah, that's correct. We've already done an initial review of all the general use standards and the use specific standards, with the exception of a few additional use standards that have been added. The changes that have been made since the last time the Planning Commission reviewed this are noted in the notes.
Do you know what
And then I
page you're on
think
the packet you're talking about, Matt?
let's see. I
see
mean, the
some
use
notes. Go
specific standards start, I'm trying to, I don't know
Page
about in the
100?
packet.
I do see something on page 82 and 83 that I'm pretty positive, I'm definitely positive that we discussed it
Yes.
and
But my memory was.
my
we
thing
did-
is we discussed stuff like, for example, zoning maps being determined by the planning director, and on page 83, classification of unlisted uses.
Yep.
And I simply pointed out that it had no ill will towards staff whatsoever, but we all discussed it specifically coming to us.
Your recommendation has been noted.
And I remember us talking about height and ending after height.
I don't see it.
No.
Y'all have reviewed a lot of this article.
We've gone there.
I thought
We've taken your comments, again, we didn't make,
But I
Then-
don't remember you specific.
yeah, we should be starting or picking up again at page,
So the general use standards start on page 11 of the draft of Article 3. I don't know what page that is in the packet. I don't have packet.
Page
11?
The use specific standards start on page 100.
So we're on principal
These
uses?
use specific standards.
we had gotten through a lot of it.
No, we did
I
not.
just for
We may have
clarity,
talked about
the
it.
only reason that I brought it up,
Last meeting.
the only reason I brought it up, Scott, is because I thought we were showing where we're updated and what has been updated with little
Now we're talking
sidebar
general
things.
use.
So that just hasn't been
Talk about
corrected
what
yet.
Correct.
we discussed.
Okay.
Yep, we're gonna wait until we get through all of these and then produce one.
And you can give us a huge 500-page thing to read.
No, hopefully not 500 pages, but
We have in the
at-
past, but we
at the
haven't
expense of,
consents. You got it.
Go ahead.
I remember us finishing with the height decision.
That is correct.
Okay, so if we did that, that ends on page 98.
didn't we
And
get into all sorts of,
No,
Y'all not talked about general use standards.
we
at
talked
all.
about it in definitions possibly, but
And we talked about it in the zoning map, but we didn't
we,
talk.
we didn't talk about it in chapter 16:3.
See, I'm pretty sure, I remember y'all talking about noise standards.
We
We
did.
did as part of the.
It just
table
wasn't
as
in
well.
this context of like, we didn't get to like this page of this article.
Yeah, it was an earlier version of this article that had a bunch of missing parts, but it did include these use standards and
Yeah. 'cause
a
we
number
talked
of
about
use specific
accessory
standards.
uses,
talked about outdoor screening.
Outdoor screening, we didn't talk about water quality, we skipped over that because it didn't seem.
Air quality,
applicable.
storage hazards,
Yeah, we talked about all that stuff.
but not in this context.
But yeah, again, we talked about it enough that I feel like what is in the article.
Talked about
now-
animal hospitals and we've been through all these.
Okay, let's,
For example, Jeff, on page 85, because if you go in order, on page 85, there's stuff highlighted. Planning Commission input, continuing care facility is a new use. Those comments are noted in the packet that we received. But when you go back to the page that I was talking about, it's not noted and it's still in here. And
Because we
and
haven't
I know that
changed
we
it.
talked about it, so
Because Article 3 has not been updated since y'all started talking about it.
correct.
Right.
So the comments have been noted in the minutes.
the packet just changes instead of keeping the same packet and moving forward.
The article that y'all are reviewing is the same article y'all have been reviewing for like the last 3 meetings, so that we will just update based on all of y'all's recommendations at the very end, so that we're not going in piecemealing things and so that y'all aren't confused because we assume that y'all made the comments on the very first draft
Right.
and have just kind of gone with that from there. And so if y'all made comments on the first couple sections, those are not gonna be reflected in here because this particular document has just been copied and pasted from each packet over and over again for the last 4 months.
All right, so what page are you saying we're going to, Madison?
Well,
98 is where we ended.
no, that is not where we ended. I swear to God.
No, because we went through all those others when we were talking about in use tables, what is it required for an animal hospital?
No,
Yeah.
What is it required? We didn't go through this.
We went through all
We
of
followed
these.
it page by page.
I think it-
right, but remember, before we got this big version of draft 3,
Matt had put together a much smaller version of Article 3 for y'all to start reviewing, just to get something in front of you, because we needed to keep things moving. And so y'all talked about Animal Hospital. If need be, I will pull up the minutes from those meetings.
I might have been,
to show.
I might have been missing at those meetings, and I understand what Lynn's saying, because at the last meeting specifically, that is where we ended. But whether or not you guys went through the other stuff, I don't know. Daryl, I wasn't here for 2 meetings, so I will just, if planning commission
We talked
says we went through that, I will.
We talked about noise, we talked about air, we talked about water, thermal, we talked about heat, geothermal, we talked about hazardous material storages. we talked
Hydroelectrics,
Where are we at, Jeff?
keeping
In this
foul.
packet, we're on
It
page,
changes,
I think we
okay.
got through all of them.
Yes.
no, there's only 37 pages in this
August
part of the packet.
13th meeting.
Natural
Okay,
medicine.
This is the packet I can see.
guys,
I know.
hold on.
At the August 13th meeting, we talked about smoke emission standards, air quality standards, hazardous materials, accessory dwelling unit, alternative energy, animal boarding, animal hospital, bed and breakfast, drive-through establishments, family childcare home, group residential facility, health medical office, motor vehicle sales, service and repair, outdoor storage, personal services, professional offices, restaurants.
Keep going, Matt, you got it.
So that is all the stuff which should theoretically line up with what is in front of you tonight. It was just a much earlier version because we had that stuff done prior to
And then it was put back in here.
I was missing that, Madison. So what page are you saying that we're going to next that we haven't covered? Just so I understand.
I believe we've covered, let's see, we've covered 98 through 100, definitely. We might have a few additional uses, like I don't think we covered it.
We covered foul on page 108.
Yes.
So the new uses that we haven't covered are duplexes and the standards. Duplexes and multifamily dwelling street level in 100 Block A, 100 Block B, and makerspace. And then I think the only other one is parklets. There were a few standards in here that are noted that staff was hoping to have a little bit further discussion about, like under accessory building structures.
She said 104, so I'll go with Madison. So we're on page 104.
Duplexes and multifamily dwellings, street level.
That's
That's.
Perfect.
Yes.
so we're ready to move forward from 104. Is that in agreement?
Well, we're gonna
Well,
pick and
there's-
choose because we've gone through a lot of these different uses.
Yes.
The first use that we haven't covered yet is duplexes and multifamily dwelling street level. But then we jump down to page,
That's fine, Madison. Just direct us on what we haven't gone through. And we can go through it.
The first one is duplexes and multifamily dwellings on street level, page 104.
Correct.
I have no comments on that.
I have no comments on that.
Yeah.
None here.
So we're talking about doing duplexes and family dwellings in the 100 block in marker space. All street level duplexes and multifamily dwellings in the 100 A, B, and market space zone district must comply with the following standards.
yes, this has to do with the asterisks that list in the current use tables regarding historic preservation, I believe.
Okay, so this is not. I'm confused.
I'm also confused. This doesn't mention anything about historic preservation, but I'm pretty sure this is what's supposed to be driving this.
The street level duplexes, yeah. So then if we go up to, let's look at.
We
that.
don't have street duplexes. We don't have multifamily in the 100 block or in the marketplace. There's no type of situation like that. There's no family dwellings. There's individual homes on Main Street with ADUs in the 100 block. There's nothing like this in makerspace.
Well, I thought the intention of 100 block of makerspace was to generate sales tax.
Correct. So why are we talking duplexes and multifamily dwellings?
So there's a provision in the existing code that says street level residential uses in 100 block A and 100 block B zone districts are permitted on historic properties, subject to all applicable requirements. And then these standards were added to clarify that those street level uses can't front on Main Street, and there's another provision about how much of the first floor they can occupy.
So, and it's in the table, it's page 88 that shows that duplex street level and where it applies.
You're talking about a really fine, like a really small percentage of things that fit the bill for this.
Correct.
Right.
There's only, it's like only 100 blocks.
It's gotta be historical use, it's already there.
Correct.
But then
That's how
it's
that-
gotta cover you, that it's not allowed, like, is this to cover redevelopment of a historical use?
The inside of a historically designated structure, or if you would like to build an addition on the back of a historic property.
So my guess is this would be like the International Building?
No, it could be 151, 155.
What else is big enough to fit the bill for this?
But that's not the 100 block. The International Building is not the 100 block.
That's true.
124.
It should be.
You want to
Topic.
make that
I still stand by, I do not have any questions about this standard.
I don't know where this is gonna
Matt,
apply.
now that Amanda has helpfully linked to the use table, I will point out that the asterisks that are next to multifamily and duplex street levels for 100 block A and B do not exist under makerspace. So if we're going to link this to historic preservation, we'll need to add those asterisks or notes, whichever one we do. Notation, I guess, to makerspace as well.
Well, so the asterisk, if you go, so if you go down, no, you're right, if it's not on page 89 either.
But do we need to somehow mention that this is referring to historical buildings?
Well, historical use and historical buildings are not the same thing.
Correct.
Right.
And
Historical use means what it's being used for.
I mean, if it's not made historic, say the country club, it can't be historical. It's not the original building. If somebody comes in and tears that down.
I don't think that's what we're talking about.
But if you gotta read the asterisk, do you wanna read the asterisk? Sure.
The asterisks aren't here. Perhaps we don't bring them over.
It says with the table, go
On page 88.
So we can work on clarifying that in the 100 block, it only applies to historic properties, these standards.
That's what I'm trying to say, Matt.
Yeah, and then in makerspace, I think the intent was, it's not intended to only apply to historic properties. It's intended to apply to any mixed use building in makerspace. So we can clarify that.
Matt, what are we, is Lynn's on the historic stuff? What are we, does it have to be is it gonna be designated historic prior to this applying?
Yes.
Yes.
You cannot take advantage of this caveat or exception without it being.
All right, are we all voting on that for clarity?
Nope, that's already in the code.
It already is.
It's there. You got it.
There we go.
So there's nothing we have to do here.
I totally agree with the standard the way it's written.
Okay.
Okay.
And then we've done all this other stuff. We've done childcare.
So then where do we go next at Madison?
Next is, let me get back there.
She said she was gonna carry the asterisks over to Marketplace, did you not?
Well, Matt clarified that it's not, the goal isn't for historic preservation and makerspace, it's just to allow it on the back 50%.
Yep.
Okay.
So, yeah, I do not believe it gets really good there. It looks like under geothermal loop, we added as-built drawing required.
Yep, because we talked about
With
it,
that,
right? Yep.
What did we add?
under geothermal loop, which is
Yep.
on this, it's on 104, but the actual change was made on the next page, 105, as-built drawing required. That was newly added.
since the last time y'all saw this section.
Yeah.
Yes, I only have one comment on that.
Okay.
And because you're correct, we definitely did talk about it, and we did talk about it, that being done, the as-built drawing. We talked about that as-built drawing, Jeff, and let me know your thought on that. Do we not want a drawing prior to them building it, or we just want a drawing after confirming it's not on their property? I mean, it's on their property. Because I thought we were talking about having them, I mean, I think you should have both, but that's
But
just,
what do you mean both? What's the other?
like, prior to them doing it, if it's going up to their property line, prior to them doing it, and after it's done, verifying that it was done the way that it was, that their engineer, qualified professional, said it was supposed to be done.
That's the as-built.
But that
Yeah, but
doesn't,
what about prior?
we would get a set of plans.
You just
before
have
we do
design that the town would review to say yay or nay.
Yeah,
That's the design document.
It's like someone submitting a set of plans for a house and then we get an as-built,
And if they screw it up,
framing ILC.
it's their fault, right?
Yeah, right. So we approve it based on a site plan showing this is where we're gonna do it, and then they follow it up with a as-built
That proves it.
drawing demonstrating that they built it where it's supposed to be.
And if they're,
If they're wrong, they fix it.
yeah, that's not our problem.
No.
We don't assume any liability, right, Scott?
Of course not, no.
Okay,
We're the government.
that's the only note I had. Where are we at, Madison?
Okay, next is page 107. The clause, the devices must be designed so that stream flows are not adversely impacted underneath hydroelectric energy device accessory was good.
107, what, where?
107, it's the very first page, or very first line, C, the devices must be designed so the stream flows are not adversely impacted.
That's the only section we changed, right? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, for hydroelectric energy
He wants an
device
okay to do that,
accessory,
yes, he's adding it.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay,
Everybody good?
Good.
All right.
next is page 110, office uses street level.
This is a totally new standard.
Yes.
Okay. But this is similar to the duplexes, and so this has another tie back to the table.
Yeah.
This is very similar to the duplexes and multifamily.
And it's just for generating sales tax.
Yes, because we changed,
Are we also looking at outdoor food vendor or just
No,
office?
Just office users right now.
yeah, because we had changed office uses street level in the 100 block A and B to limited use from conditional use. And I believe this is kind of trying to respond to that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think it's on page 86, Madison, where it was lumped in. But so we added as limited use, and then this is the definition of it.
Yeah, the standards that are associated with it.
Correct. So 86 is in the table, and then this is the standard. I don't have any.
No problem.
Okay.
I'm good.
How did we determine like that 50%? Why wouldn't it be if it's on the back side?
I think we were trying to be consistent with the way we've treated other things and also how we've talked about other things. So like in the cases of laundromats, now granted this was after the fact, but laundromats we talked about back half of 100 block A. And in the case of residential for historic properties, it's the back half, or the back 50% in 100 block A.
This is not related to historic.
It is not, no, it's just, it's not a sales tax generating use. And our design guidelines, I believe, specifically say that these things can front on William Street. These office type
uses that aren't
Non-taxable.
professional offices. They can front on William Street, they can't front on Main Street, and so we're giving them an avenue with which to do that even in 100 Block A. So in the case of, or I say Williams, but Williams or Eagle, so in the case of the where the yoga studio used to be in the 100 block, she had those offices in the very back that had, I think, like a massage therapist and maybe something else. So, but those obviously aren't sales tax generating uses, but they're uses that go along with a yoga studio, at least in my mind they do. So it would make sense to.
That was a builder in there, and he made those his offices, and
Right.
the front was his showroom.
So it would make sense to allow those less intensive uses to front on those side streets, but not Main Street. I believe that's the rationale behind it.
Do we need a vote on any of this stuff?
I was just trying to understand the driver behind the 50%, because that seems really specific to, because it's like the leasable space versus, I don't know.
That just seems like pretty common.
Yeah, so I was just trying to understand why that was 50%, but it's
we're
just-
gonna-
I think the intent is to limit the amount of street level area that's used for non-sales tax generating uses.
Correct.
That's
Correct.
where that came from.
Yeah, well, to me, it just seems a little bit on the hefty side, knowing the size of those buildings in the 100 block that were of no more than 50%. So if you say, like, look at 151, like those buildings 151, up to 50% of those could be office spaces in the back of those buildings. Like, that's a lot of.
On Kathy's, it was 500 square feet. On mine, it would have been 450.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
It's
I
a
feel
lot.
like
To
it's
do
a
a
lot.
to do a retail in front, you need more space than that.
Yeah, I just feel like it's a 50% seems quite large, that you could have office space rented and getting rental that's not, no one's getting sales
About
tax on.
25%,
Yeah, I'm
How much?
I'm just bringing it up to the
How
team.
much did you say?
25.
Yeah.
Just throwing out arbitrary numbers.
You
It's
know,
fun.
Sounds good, 25.
I have a question then, and it can't be changed, but what is the percentage of office space used on Alpine compared to their retail? And that's facing the frontage.
But theirs is like a single desk and it's surrounded by,
Oh no, there's like 3 or 4 desks in there and it's blocked off from the rest of the store.
I mean, but there's purchase, you can purchase all that stuff behind it. They have all of their very clothing.
So-
No, that's up front, but I'm saying this further back, closer to the bike shop is where their office space is.
No, but what I'm saying is like all they're very, I only go because I get t-shirts there. Their very clothing is back, some of that clothing is back there to purchase. Right in
Yeah,
front
towards
of
the back
Sally's
wall,
house.
but up towards the fireplace, it's not. I know what
Yeah.
you're saying. I know what you're saying.
I think we're talking more about, maybe I'm wrong, but we're talking more about office space, like just separate office space that's not part of the business.
Yeah, like I was more looking at like the old like yoga studio,
I don't know.
or if they were to close off
Business is this.
151,
Yeah.
those back rooms that Kathy used to have as like.
Right.
Like, I'm just saying it feels like big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Percentage, so 25%?
25% I can understand.
Okay, so that's 2 people. Anybody else?
There you go.
Okay, great.
25.
We definitely have to vote on the next one. Hopefully not, but,
Outdoor food vendor?
well, yeah, because where they're asking what the request is, we did talk about this before, and, you know, I'm pretty sure that we came up that they couldn't be in any of the setbacks, and they couldn't be in any of the clear vision. And in regards to the time frame, if they're not selling food, in 30 days, they're out, is my.
And we probably took those comments and we'll incorporate those when we clean this up.
I don't know if we
They're
all
in.
voted, I don't know.
I remember the
Maybe
30%.
not.
We didn't vote because some of us disagree with all of
Who
that.
says that?
Yeah, we didn't vote then.
We did not vote.
Yeah.
Is everybody in agreement with that?
On these 2 things.
What?
I disagree with setbacks, and I
To the fire.
So we're talking about two different things here. There's outdoor food vendor, and then there's the second one that's outdoor food vendor park and court. They're different standards.
So which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about allowed as a principal use on a vacant lot if permitted, the applicable zone district is actively being operated in.
Okay.
I don't have any problem with that whatsoever,
Okay.
except they can't be in the setbacks blocking the firefighters' access. I'm talking about that, and then the bottom where it says, with the little arrow going over, where it says requesting input from planning commission, the amount of time they should be allowed to lapse for non-operating food vendors. If they're not making us money, they're out.
So that's where the more than 30 days in number 3 comes in.
That's the 30 days I came up with, and I think because of the current setbacks and stuff that we all
I
have.
agree with that because I know how that related prior to the current food trucks.
Yeah, I'm fine with D. It's the W one that I think we would have had more discussion on.
What are you find with, Amanda?
She's fine with the outdoor food vendor.
I speak up.
I have a question.
I can't hear.
And I have a question.
No, I hear you.
Oh,
Go ahead. I can't hear that.
And what Mike was just talking about, the 30-day and all that kind of stuff, and if they don't do anything and they don't get out, do we need to put in any kind of provision that should the town have to eliminate the vehicles or what have you, there's a fine? Or is that something that's already set?
That would probably be handled under other sections of the code.
Okay.
But
And
It
what,
wouldn't be following code, so it'd probably go to code enforcement.
Okay,
what do you feel about the setbacks?
yes.
Setbacks are in the next one, Michael, underneath W.
So we're all good with V, right?
We're good with V.
that V the way it is.
We're good with V.
Okay.
And we're good with 30 days, right?
Yes,
Yes.
that's in V.
Okay.
30 days.
Outdoor food vendor park and court.
This is multiple food vendors, which is I think is the point that you were wanting to.
Amanda, does anybody know where we are in regards to the setbacks?
So setbacks would be, it wasn't specific to setbacks, Michael, it was the right-of-way easements that were heavy discussions that had kind of morphed into some discussion around setbacks, and that's number 2 under W2.
Can we clarify setbacks while we're talking about this? Being parked in the setbacks?
What is
Even if we went over it before?
Cannot block public streets, sidewalks, trails, or similar access ways.
people
May-
parking? Sorry.
May be located in private or public right-of-way or easement with the permission of the owner or holder of such right-of-way or easement.
And I would also point out that the bullet point number 1, they would have to comply with all applicable requirements in chapter 6. Never mind.
That's different.
Yeah,
That's the code.
does that
for-
deal with setbacks though?
No, it does not.
Okay.
There's
But I would like to point out that we don't require any other use to adhere to not parking in setbacks.
Right.
So why should this specific one have to not park in setbacks?
It's more permanent, more semi-permanent use. We're not gonna let parklets park in property setbacks. They're gonna be on the street.
But any home, any single family home that has a driveway, the driveway's in the setback and people park there
Technically,
every day.
it's
So
like
they're
a
not
building or.
producing food and using gas.
It's
They're
like,
not, but they're still parking in setbacks.
it's like a
RVs
building or a
that
shed
have
now, Madison.
in them.
We don't let people put sheds in the setbacks.
What's wrong
How we
with
do?
parking or putting a table and chairs in the setback?
I have no problem with table and
I don't have a
chairs.
problem.
So what's
I'm
wrong with
thinking
parking?
of something like
And sheds do go in setbacks.
a food
Hello?
truck.
So number 4 says tables, chairs, shading devices, trash can occur in the setbacks. Then it says food carts, food trailers, and food trucks must comply with applicable dimensional standards.
Does that cover what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Keeps them out of the.
There you go, Scott. You should have spoke up 5 minutes ago.
He tried, we didn't let him.
I'm sorry.
This provision has been added per the Planning Commission's direction.
Yes.
There we
And I still
go.
put on record, I
Where-
disagree with that provision.
Okay.
What'd she say? What'd you say?
I
She
said I still
disagrees
disagree with it.
but I agree with it. All those of us who still agree with
At
it.
least she got the
keep it
drive
out
up,
of the
drive through
fire.
thing.
There we go. We got 3 right here.
4.
4.
It stays.
Okay.
4. All right. Where we at, Madison?
Next is under outdoor storage, which is literally the next use. Number 1, size. This provision has been brought for further discussion with the planning commission.
Okay.
So are y'all good with
Not more than 50%.
what it says now?
Okay.
Yep.
What page are you on?
This is now page 111.
111.
111.
Oh, up there, okay.
You're looking for just pink. Anything that's pink.
Looking for pink.
Storage area should not cover, and I like pink, it's my favorite color.
Well, that's all we're looking for.
Parklets, let's have the
Yes.
conversation.
Parklet is the next one.
New standards have been added for parklets.
My only question on, I don't even know if it's the question for this, but my only question is who decides where the parklets go?
It says right there, number 1A, a parklet can only occupy areas
So I'm
of
saying, who
on-street
makes that
parking
decision? Yeah.
within a public or private right of way.
Council?
Within a public or private.
I mean, I don't care. I'm just saying, who makes the decision?
I don't know.
Who goes into Holy Toledo and says, we're gonna put a parklet in front of your drive?
No, I think that, I don't have an issue with them. I was just think,
A temporary use permit is required, and I think if it's a temporary use is over 7 days, it has to have planning commission and council approval. I
Okay.
think. At least that's how it's set up now. Matt, do you remember how if we changed that in,
I think that's been changed.
what does it say now?
let's clarify what you got, Matt. We're almost there, man.
It is actually
Just slow down.
15 in the morning for me.
We're not gonna miss anything with this code.
So I think any temporary use permit,
You're about to be like.
regardless of how long it's for, it only goes, it's an administrative process.
No matter how long it is?
I'm sorry. All temporary use permits shall expire and become null and void 6 calendar months after the date of issuance, unless you get an extension.
6 months.
But
That,
staff can approve the 6-month temporary use permit?
Yes.
do we have 6 months that it can be there with our weather?
That's irrelevant.
I don't know that staff would approve a parklet to be longer than like the summer season,
I
just
think-
because
Yes.
we're going to be concerned with our snowplow.
I think if we're notifying people for bed and breakfast, we might want to consider the process.
How do you know?
It even says a parklet lengths of occupancy cannot interfere with and impede snow removal operations.
There you go.
I mean, again, has nothing against staff at
Yeah,
all.
it's already in
6
there.
6 months is a long time.
Most staff would look at it.
Maximum length is to be identified in the temporary use permit. I mean, there's a lot of requirements for
If
this
it's
thing,
off street.
so
I'm gonna
I'd be
get one.
surprised if we weren't covering our butts with all this.
What do you think, Jeff? You think we're good?
But it looks pretty thorough.
What's everybody else think?
And since we've never had them before, nope, what's Murphy's Law says.
I think he needs
As
to
soon
talk
as we
to,
allow one, we're gonna figure out a loophole, something we forgot.
6 months seems long.
My part in front of my house. Seriously, see.
I'm down.
Right.
Isn't a lemonade stand for children essentially a parklet?
at $5 a glass?
Can't we just drop the approval time from 6 months to
6 months is temporary use permit limitation. It has nothing to do with the parklet. The parklet can
Yeah,
apply.
that's the max on a temporary use.
So so we're being asked to set a time on how long, who's approving parklets and how long it's going to be, how long that approval can last, or are we gonna let it be set, let it be set by council?
I
The way
think,
it's currently set up is temporary use permit is required for it, which per Article 5 that y'all reviewed forever ago is something that staff approves. And the max time for staff, for the approval to last is 6 months. But given that, as we've pointed out, the snow storage and snow operations of it all, staff is unlikely, even if 6 months is the longest time we can actually say yes to this, we would be like, hey, this is going to interfere with our street snow removal, so this needs to be out by September 1st or whatever.
And staff can say 3 months. They
We
can
do
say
not
2
have to
months.
issue the whole 6
They can
months.
say whatever they feel is appropriate. Okay.
And I like that there's actually even a provision, if for some crazy reason you could make it work, it says that if you could get a temporary use permit for a parklet within the CDOT right of way, that you can actually go and just provide that you have a permit from CDOT, which I doubt you would ever get, but that, you know, that you could do it.
CDOT, I mean, look at Frisco.
Do they
That's
own
not
that
CDOT,
street?
they don't own that street, that's a town-owned street, I've already checked into it.
Thank you.
Main Street?
Main Street where the parklets are is a town-owned street. This highway used to go through there, but when they put in the new I-70, it became.
I thought that was Highway 9. Okay.
Where in Frisco?
Yeah.
It's posted, there's signed parking where it tells you you can't park overnight. It says owned by the town of Frisco or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I love that Frisco Street. It's wide, tons of
Great
parking.
street.
It's got parklets. All the buildings are, almost every single building on that portion of the town is 2 stories tall. There's one building at the far end that has a setback 3rd story like we're talking about across from the brewery. It's just so nice. You see everything around it, all the views.
I think it's a good idea to add, like we added before, if they're not doing business for 30 days, they're out, regardless of their temporary use permit.
Well, and I agree with that because we had a situation like that already and it did not look nice. It looked trashy.
Is that okay?
So,
We agree upon that.
I'm trying to think if there would ever be a situation where it would be used for business. Before we try and like put ourselves in a box, like if maybe the town wanted to put a parklet next to, I don't know, not a park. Or
The town can do whatever they
like
want.
increase seating.
The town can do whatever they want, but if we're putting parklets to generate like more fun, like just, I don't know what the, more people coming to town and cool things in town. We don't need parklets sitting there because they have a 6-month permit, not doing business, or because they're incompetent. I don't know, whatever. I think that
So here's a question, could you have, so if you have an empty lot with a food truck, okay, could they potentially request a parklet as a portion, as part of that, like food truck on the side street? So I'm thinking of like there's an empty lot like on Eagle River and Toledo. That's back on that corner. Could they put a food truck on that lot and then request a parklet?
I don't see why they couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be 2 different uses, so 2 different applications.
Correct,
But
I'm just trying to see, like, I'm just trying to like think outside the box.
Yeah.
Like a business person who is like coming, you know.
And they wanted something a little bit more official than just chairs and tables.
Scott can
Yeah, so
stamp
they built a
Hold on.
parklet, and because,
One at a time.
because we have limited, because we've limited them, they can't be in the setbacks because they have to have their dimensional things. So then they could put 2 food plates in a parklet.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I wouldn't know why not.
What was your question?
can staff take a temporary use permit
They violate the conditions.
regardless? Like, instead of us putting in there, if you're not doing business, whatever, you guys can make the call.
Yeah.
Council can totally do it.
If they have violated something,
What if they don't violate something, it's just sitting there not doing anything?
Well, under 15B, it says, the structural integrity and physical appearance of all parklets must be maintained to avoid any parklet from becoming a public health or safety concern and or an eyesore.
So we can crush them right there.
I mean, that's pretty broad.
Yeah.
I like it.
Eyesore is like, well, it
So-
looks terrible.
But to your point, Michael, would under 16, where it talks about the temporary use permit, is that where you put a time limit to say if it's not actively being used within
Over,
30 days, if it's
Yeah,
been
over.
abandoned for more than 30 days or something?
yeah,
And
correct.
let's just be right out. The first food truck that came into this town sat on an empty lot for a whole winter practically, and it looked like, you know what? That's what we're trying to avoid.
What do you got going on over there, Scott?
Well, just trying to find a way to incorporate your suggested, it's a pretty simple line item to say either any temporary use permit issued, but not acted upon within 30 days, or any permit issued and abandoned for more than 30 days, or something like
I
that.
like it.
Yeah, I think we could add a statement in here that talks similar to the outdoor food vendor, that if it's not actively being used for more than 30 consecutive days or something to that, whatever the right time frame is, that then it has to be removed by the owner.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good suggestion.
Thank you.
Well, we're still here with you, Matt. Are we gonna quickly ask anybody how they feel about the new zoning map?
So we can still have rental business, but I just want,
Do we have more stuff, Madison?
we have rental business, which is
Rental
new.
business.
Okay, thanks.
What's next, Madison?
Rental business, such as right after parklets, so it's on page 114 AA.
So I've looked at where this is in the zone map. Can you give an example of a rental business?
Rocky Mountain Adventure Rentals would be one, right down.
Nova Guides,
That, or I think the last time we talked about this, we were thinking, well, Evo,
But Evoke is also a bike repair shop.
right.
So I feel like this is, I mean, this seems like it's really restricting the outdoor
I agree.
usage of the repair and maintenance services, which I think is going to be,
It may be actually part of their business model to have stuff
Exactly.
outside.
well, and
or-
would anglers be that too?
yeah. Angle,
Yeah, I mean, half of it, in my opinion,
Because
like
they-
half of the
the
allure of a bike shop
rubber
is
things that we-
working outside on your bike,
Go hang out with the
hang out with the guys.
but even,
You
but
literally
you're,
do
wrenchy.
but even
Here.
like, yeah, and the rental for the fishing lines and stuff like that, fishing pole.
Yeah.
I just feel like this
Veteran
is,
anglers, a lot of their stuff gets, they wash waders outside. They seat the people outside and put their shoes out.
I can't see
Outfit them on the street.
so I guess I'm not supportive of majority of this standard
Any
the
order
way it's written
displays
today.
associated with a rental business must be located on the premises unless the town of Colorado Transportation authorizes it in the CDOT. Repair maintenance, any repair or maintenance service activities must be customarily incidental and subordinate to the rental business.
I don't understand.
Yeah,
why they don't.
that seems counterintuitive to, like you said, the business itself, and maybe a part of the business.
And then all repair and maintenance service activities must be conducted entirely within a fully enclosed building or structure or in an outdoor area that is screened from view when observed from adjoining public or private right-of-way and or residential zone district. That to me seems like we are going to kill 2 or 3 of our businesses in town right now.
Dutchess
Evoke?
Auto.
The
Evoke
fish
doesn't repair out on the front sidewalk, they repair inside and in back.
in back, but in
That's
back
still
is a
outdoors.
private right-of-way.
No, I think Amanda on that in regards to that.
Evoke, is that private right away or is that part of their property?
But it's visible from the public right of way.
Yeah.
Amanda, in that one specific regard on repair on B, I agree with you 100% in regards to all the people that we have. And I don't know how you figure out a way that somebody can rent out part of their lot and you can have a lot going on outside. You know, I've seen it in other parts of the county that you can have people working on heavy equipment. You can
That's
you can
under
damn near
different-
turn a junkyard into a parcel. So
But that's a different use, Michael, in our table, and that's a very service of small appliances is different than what this is. That's why I asked specifically, what does rental business mean? Because small business repair has a different use by right, and it's a different. So all of what you're talking about
it's different.
is totally different in the table.
So do we need to split this out into a rental business, large vehicle sales? Or
We already have it split out. That's why I'm asking what this is, because it just is.
What is the definition to rental business, basically,
Mhm.
where she's going?
Yeah.
What is considered a rental business? I don't think we allow car rentals, do we?
Scott's just saying.
Do we?
Vehicle rentals and sales.
Yeah.
Oh, vehicle, okay.
Which is what we then lumped the heavy equipment in under the vehicle rental and sales, because that was heavy.
Yeah.
Whereas this
That
is
is heavy.
more,
So you're saying you already got like auto mechanic, random crap like that is covered in a
Appliance
different
repair shops. Yeah,
section.
yeah, we got,
different, yeah, that's in a different one.
we have all of that. That's,
Yeah, and this was to cover United equipment rentals.
Whereas this rental business is more for Evoke, the lighter stuff, if we're gonna use heavy as a term.
I don't have any issue with lighter stuff.
I don't either. I just feel like this is really restrictive to the 3 businesses in town. And the other one that I think is, does the motorcycle shop also do my small rental? The one that's in, next door to the, glass blowing?
I don't,
Rocky
Do
Mountain
they do
Adventure
any?
Rentals.
I could ask Jay, that's where he takes his motorcycle to be serviced.
Yeah, ask if they do any, cause that would be the other one. So it's that one across the street with the fun cars.
Yeah,
Then you have Marshall with, they do snowmobile.
He's not renting, Amanda. He doesn't rent.
He doesn't rent anymore,
No,
Marshall
no.
doesn't?
No, he does. He's great at fixing everything that you need fixed, but he's not renting. And then as far as the rentals, I don't know if the one's still up there by the cowboy shop by Jeff. No.
No, the trading post he's not, they're not in there anymore.
They are.
Adventure rentals are gone.
really, where'd they go?
They're,
I don't know, they're,
They were having problems up in Red Cliff.
yeah, they're not there anymore.
It could be an
The
Eagle.
logos and everything are still on.
It could be an Eagleville.
I know there's a bunch of, there's been one that you go.
Matt, do you have anything to say on this? Because I know, when we were drafting this, I had some similar comments about, hey, what about bike repair and stuff like that? What are your thoughts on how we address this?
So, I mean, yeah, these are draft standards. They can certainly be modified or eliminated if need be. I believe the repair and maintenance statement is intended to say that sort of activity, the primary function of your business is rentals, and that could be bike rentals, snowmobile rentals, things like that. Whatever people rent, not like rental cars, but so to say that it's the purpose of a rental business is to rent stuff, and then if you repair stuff, that's allowed, but it's kind of secondary to your primary function of renting stuff. And then secondly, the bullet point B was to try and say if you're repairing snowmobiles, bikes, or whatever, that has to kind of be out of sight. But I'm hearing that's probably an issue.
Well, I mean, if it's somewhere like in the building by Sibley's and you're repairing snowmobiles, that's one thing. But if it's something like a building on Main Street in downtown Minturn, that's another thing. Now, they're worried about things like the bicycles, which aren't repaired out on the sidewalk. They're repaired on the backside on a piece of property that I believe is still theirs.
It is, it's just visible from the public right of way.
It says observe from the adjoining public or private right of way and or residential zone.
So
we don't have a residential zone issue.
To me, this kind of, in my mind, kind of separates itself into vehicle repair like cars or snowmobiles or motorcycles, and something that is kind of less impactful and also interesting to the general public who like to bike, like bike repair, like.
Yeah, they have
and
bike
I
repair.
don't know how to articulate that in this, right? One thing is kind of part of the experience, so to speak. You walk in with your bike and they put it up on a stand and you try to learn something while they're fixing it and maybe bring them some beer and whatever. The other
I don't
one,
think you
you
could
drop
do
your
that.
car off and you want that behind closed doors where they're making noise and they're doing stuff and I don't know how to articulate that or how to.
I know.
It's kind of like, I feel like you've got certain buckets that you can lump certain businesses into, and we're not gonna get a bucket for every business. And it's like,
Perhaps not.
sometimes you just go, well, you're closest to this. But when it comes down to like enforcement of code, like it's only gonna be if someone calls and complains that you have to refer to this anyway.
Right.
At which point we'd probably be looking at noise standards or whatever.
There'd be all kinds of other reasons to find the business in violation of
As
something.
long as it's not out on the
So
sidewalk in
like,
front.
I don't know that a lot of this is super, the problem with 2B comes where maybe the business is adjacent to a residence that still is in the 100 block. And
Well,
we're hoping
residential
it's
zone district.
residential zone district, but currently there's still residences in the 100 block.
Right, but they are not protected under this because they are not residentially zoned. They are commercially zoned. They are just a residence.
But if this becomes code, they could still complain about someone doing something outside and saying, it bugs me that they're out there playing their boombox and listening to music, fixing bikes,
Right.
and I don't want to see it, I want it screened.
So we
It
would
says right here,
and we would say you're not in a residential zone district.
so you don't have standing, so you don't have standing.
They would have standing under the adjoining public or private right of way has to be screened from that, but they don't have standing under residential zone district. 'cause
Or
they're not
standing under the
residential
noise
zone.
ordinance or something else.
Right.
They
Okay.
would have standing under the
So
residence.
are we okay with it as it is, or you're still not?
I'm not. I mean, I just feel like
So
it's
what,
and
there's
or,
three
it's
businesses
not-
downtown. There's one that's fishing. That one has been going on the way it is, and that seems to me to be part of the whole experience. They're not fixing things. They're hanging their things out to say, hey, we're a fishing store, and they're bringing people in there to make sales tax and stuff.
Yeah.
yeah, and they.
The other one is the bike shop. Is there any other?
No, I think those are the two primary,
Right, and he's working in the back of the building,
primarily.
yes.
Every
He can't have things out on the sidewalk because it's ADU required.
No, he's working, but I think both of them, the way that this B is written, it's that is screened from view when observed from any adjoining public or private right of way and or residential zone district. So it's that and or that says you have to screen from adjoining public and private right of way and or residential. So it's not giving them an option, like the bike shop is going to have to screen themselves,
So
the
we
way
get-
that it's written here.
Do we get rid of it?
Or rewrite it so that they don't have to screen.
I don't know why you need it.
I don't know why you need it.
Maybe if they were abutting a residential zone district, it'd be different, so maybe keep that portion in there.
And then remove
And
the.
then remove the adjoining public or private right of way.
Right, yeah. I just don't wanna lose those two businesses.
I don't either.
Yeah.
The intent of that provision really was, I agree, it's not intended to restrict bike repair, although that would fall under this. It's really intended to address somebody with ATVs or snowmobiles repairing those out in their front yard, which it could be perceived by some as a kind of an eyesore.
Well, there's another gentleman down my street who repairs cars in his front yard all the time.
Again, they're not businesses, they don't fall under this.
Correct.
No,
Okay.
That's it?
I think that's it for the new standards.
What's next, Madison?
How about
Just a
me?
second,
I
let me-
mean,
What's next, Lynn? I'm sorry, Lynn, what's next?
Yeah, this one.
We haven't addressed Matt's new zoning map yet.
I don't
We'd
think
all
we're,
like to say thank you, and if there's anything.
but we're
they
not
want to
there
say-
yet.
We're not there yet. There was height under solar energy roof mounted accessory added based on, I think, planning commission discussion, so were y'all good on that?
Yes. Or well, everybody, they reduced it from 15 to 6.
yeah,
Yeah, we all agreed on that.
I thought we agreed on that.
Yes,
Fine,
no.
okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Under wind energy facility accessory on page 116, design requirements must have a non-reflective finish unless otherwise required by Federal Aviation Administration. Are y'all good with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Now we're at the maps.
Now we're at the maps. Okay, do y'all have comments?
Yeah, he requested it.
I think it's much better. It's,
I mean, the view of the maps is much better. The zoning on the maps is still, like, I mean, I'm still going to.
Also, I'd like to have a few more identifiable points. Like, could we have the bridge that goes over to the park shown, you know, in a little box like that? Could we have Beloit Park shown?
Little Beach.
Little Beach, Beloit Park, so that people going through it can identify where they're looking. The only other thing, and maybe this will turn out better, but when this goes, you can barely read those street names.
And some of them are covered by numbers, hence Boulder Street, 228.
Alder Street to you.
Alder Street.
Well, please keep in mind that the finished product of these maps will be online. So you'll be able to zoom in and zoom out and all that stuff. These are not gonna be,
I still think identifying Beloit Park and the Little Beach would be, it would be for people that are going through it to pick up quicker.
okay.
I had a question for Lynn.
What's this one?
I had a question for Lynn. I had a question for you and staff, since we're like getting to the end of this. We already went through, just, I don't specifically, I'm pretty positive that we already went through that our max height is 28 feet.
Correct.
We already all,
And for MU3. Is
How do we have that
for,
building?
for everywhere.
no.
No,
MU1 and the 100 blocks still have max height of 35 feet.
So the right in front of our street is going to be 35 feet, the way this is done right now.
We already agreed to that?
No,
We did not. We actually took a vote not to agree to it, but that's gonna go to council to discuss.
but that is also not mentioned in here going to council.
I know, it's gotta go to council, and I would like to understand how, as individuals, well, never, that's another discussion,
Yeah,
that's
let's
fine.
keep it on topic.
We voted to change it, Michael,
Correct.
this staff did, or this commission did.
We
But
voted to keep it at 28.
We did, but it's not reflective in this new.
And it's not reflected in
That
this.
that is correct, and I didn't know if staff had just not changed that yet, that's why I was asking. Or if that was something that we were getting overruled on and that was going to council to,
What did you expect to change?
MU1 to change from 35 feet to 28 feet.
No, or like making it, so in the 400
So,
block on Eagle River.
Oh, that, because you wanted to change it to MU3.
Either everything's MU1 or,
Yeah, that the building
Yes,
heights are
yes.
the same.
I thought,
that'll be
Go to
noted.
council, Michael.
I thought all MU1, we talked about 28 feet.
Nope, just the street in front of
Just
your
the
street.
street.
I might not have been here.
No, you were here.
Oh my
The
God.
street in front of his street, he's on the
Sound like
sidewalk.
I am so tired.
Are you referring to Eagle
Sound
Street?
like my wife.
The 400 block of Main Street, the east side,
I was not here for that conversation.
the
Don't push her, Michael.
consensus at planning commission was either to take MU1 from 35 feet down to 28 feet,
Correct.
or to change the zoning of that block from MU1 to MU3, so that it was the same with the street behind it. That was the recommendation from planning commission. Staff obviously disagrees with that, so that is one of the things that has been noted for council to make the final decision.
And that was just on our block or across the
It's your
board?
block.
Correct. Where I would like to see, like, to Lynn's point, the listing of everything that you guys are taking into council.
We haven't gotten
No,
that
we
way.
haven't gotten there.
Okay.
Well,
That-
it was
It's
mentioned
not
somewhere
just
in here.
Article 3, it is, I mean, there's things obviously throughout the whole code that we will just be taking, here's the list.
not just on standards.
We can present that list to you
I would
before
like
we
to
go to
see
council
that
to make.
list
That would be
before.
nice. That would be
We would
nice.
like to see that list before.
Sounds good.
I take a poll on seeing that list.
Oh, put your hand up, Daryl.
Unanimous.
No,
And then are we
it's
gonna have
fine. Eric's
another, joint meeting with the council?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I
Probably.
don't know when.
Okay.
I don't have a
And
date.
when is that, when are we planning on presenting that list?
We don't know. As soon as we get through all this stuff.
Okay,
Got a ways to go.
Okay.
Back to the question, I like the map.
Okay.
I like the map,
Everybody likes the map.
Thank you very much.
except for the street in front of my street.
I will say that I did already flag that the fire station should be changed to civic, but other than that, I think
195.
195, yeah,
Okay. Now, Matt, this is really helpful, so thank you.
definitely.
You're welcome.
And
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks for renaming Boulder Alder too, appreciate that.
Does it really say Alder?
It does not.
I don't know. I got one eye.
Okay,
Can't see.
town managers report, or how about Minturn Planning Commission Economic Development? Anything on the DDA? Anybody have any questions? Did anybody else go other than I?
No.
No.
So one point of note, I believe Cindy called out a date for planning commission review of the draft DDA plan. We are actually going to try to get you that on November 12th, so the next meeting. It might not be pretty, so it might not be formatted the way that council will eventually see it. But we're trying to get this through the whole adoption process by the end of the year so that this can kick in January 1. So the content will likely be the same that goes to you versus council, but it just might not be formatted in the.
What are those packets down there about?
I have no clue.
Michael, can you pass those down?
So that's just something
this
that
is
might
the
change
plan.
from her memo.
that was the draft plan that the consultants.
Minturn Downtown Development Authority Plan of Development. Anybody want one?
I would love it, thank you.
Okay, I have no clue where that falls within
These-
relation to what
Hold on.
will actually go to you.
Those are the drafts that the consultant provided at the last day of our 2-day workshop. That is not the draft plan. That is a PowerPoint presentation that they went through with the DDA board and the stakeholders. So take that for what it's worth. It is not the plan.
But since planning originally was asked to be present to some degree, at least if they read it, they'd understand what's going on. You don't want to.
No, I
Yeah,
just read it.
I would encourage you to just wait till the actual plan falls.
There's not much material in there, but.
So, um,
So we'll see, like everything else, we're gonna see the plan before. I don't even know if we have a say in it, but we're gonna see the plan.
You, like most other plans, are a recommending body. Now granted, the DDA plan is primarily council and the DDA board. So they might not take any or all of your recommendations, to heart and make changes to the plan. But you can certainly make recommendations, and forward those along to council and the DDA board.
But I think it's important, critically important, that you read the plan, understand the plan, and have a chance to discuss it, because that plan needs to work with all the other plans that you have more of a stake in implementing, like the community plan and the 100 block design standards. They're all supposed to kind of play nice together, so to speak, right? And the DDA plan is going to focus probably more on smaller scale things and public improvements and how to finance them, and the function and the responsibilities of the DDA board. It's not going to overlap or contradict the community plan or the 100 block design standards, but it will reference those two documents, right? So does that make sense?
It'll make sense when we see it, and then we
Yeah.
can.
And it won't interfere with historical either.
No, it's supposed to again, kind of not align with, but respect those and work with them.
Do we have anything specifically, I'm sorry, Lynn, what do we have on the 100 block that's currently existing historical? Do we have?
151 Main, Kathy's store.
That's right, yeah.
155 was my store.
The water tank.
The water tank and the saloon. The fifth article that has been approved but not done yet is Myers Barn.
That's a no-brainer.
that's going to go out to the park.
Yeah.
So that's been approved already, it just, and Madison, I think I told you this quickly before you left, at that, before the historical meeting, I'll bring in, I did get that info on brass plaques.
Oh, awesome.
It's from the Franklin Company, which is in Pennsylvania, and if any of you are old enough to remember Women's Day or House Beautiful, you used to see big page ads in there, and they used to sell commemorative plates, commemorative dolls, all that kind of thing. And it's a real nice one. There are, depending on how much wording you put on, they start around 100 and something.
Oh, perfect.
And I know there are people here, so I'll bring it in, maybe you and I can sit down for a few minutes with
Yeah,
it.
I'd like that.
But it's very nice, and she's very workable, and we can call her and get any questions. So I think we have got something we can work with.
Awesome.
Okay. Anything from the manager's report? Any questions?
I only have one question, just, for staff. It says that we're done, not done with this. We know we're not done with this, but just out of curiosity, what's the next part of this?
The Minturn Forward code update, once we get done with Article 3, you mean?
What's that mean? Model code, right?
That document that you're holding, the code,
Yes,
that's Minturn Forward.
yes.
You're asking what comes next
So
after
this
we,
is section 3. Is there another section?
Chapter
There's so
16.
many more sections.
Oh my God.
but I
So
mean,
many more.
no, there's not. I mean,
I know, I'm being facetious.
we've done, it's last year at this time, we were getting into Article 5 and Article 8, so land use application requirements, subdivision application requirements, then we did environmental impact report, which changed to a development impact report, then we got into, so we've made a lot of progress, and we have other sections, the 3 biggest ones left to do are development standards, subdivision standards. So if someone was coming to us with a major subdivision, for instance, how does that subdivision get designed? We don't have standards right now for things like how streets, sidewalks, and those types of things are laid out in a subdivision, and minimum requirements for the length of a block and things like that. So that's part of the standards that we'll be developing. We have the definitions section. We said we were going to wait till the end of this, especially after we got through the zoning part, to wrap all these definitions. Some of them are going to be new. So a new definition section with illustrations and graphics to really clarify, this is what we mean by building height calculation, or this is what we mean by whatever, right? So we've got that yet to do. There are other sections, and Matt, jump in anytime.
He's not
but
here anymore.
Okay.
He's sober down.
There are other sections like the town's existing 1041 regs, so how the town will review things like power lines going through town and other major infrastructure things. We're not going to touch those. We're going to take those as they exist, and we're going to put them into the new code as they exist. We're not going to touch those.
So this specifically,
Well, we can talk to the town attorney, but I don't think there's any,
th-
we drafted those specifically for Holy Cross.
this stuff, I'm sorry, Scott, this stuff specifically that we've just been going through this section.
Yep.
This section, and what Amanda asked for earlier in regards to what is, we'll just call it being disputed, what discussed.
Yeah.
Discussed is a much better word. Sorry, I'm tired. But what's being discussed, we're gonna figure this stuff out, or are we just gonna keep going all the way to the end?
Keep going.
Keep going.
Oh my
And
God.
at the end, we get a packet that we'll have to read
Yep.
Yes.
before it goes to council.
Yep. And we will, as part of that, make sure that we spend time with you to lay out all the things that we have kind of taken out and put in a parking lot along the way that we want to discuss with council before we tee anything up with council, either a joint meeting or an adoption
So
hearing.
you'll point that all out to us, so we're aware of it.
Yep.
You'll make notes, because it'll be easier if you could, I would definitely appreciate it. If when you put that together, if you put where we stood
Yes.
and and because it's just good for clarity, where we stood and what you guys think, so we all know where we're at, and then we can, and then if where we're going to go from there, I would think that a joint meeting from council would be great versus us all going to council and discussing it.
Yeah, I think it
That's
would
what
be.
I was gonna ask is like, where do we, well, never, I'll ask offline.
And I think it needs to be more than an hour.
Yes, I agree.
For sure. I think the way this probably should happen is that we come to you first with a summary of all the things that need further discussion. And what your recommendation is versus ours. We'll ground truth that with you before we schedule a joint hearing with the council. So you and we agree that that's how it should be characterized.
And it's better for you just to do that at the end, because otherwise we're going to get tied up and go back and forth on every section.
Right. And so we'll have that joint work session. If we need to have two, we'll have two. If we can, I don't think there's that very many issues, but it could take time to go through them. If we then got through those with direction from council, right? Then we would then schedule adoption hearings with any recommended changes. And move on with adopting the new code. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So full transparency, here's our issues, you guys help us figure it out.
And hopefully we can, I'm sure there's a few things that we're not going to figure out. I mean, but hopefully we can figure out, it'd be great if we could just figure out everything. But, we didn't figure, we obviously, we obviously know that we definitely disagree on some thoughts.
Yep.
We definitely know that. And I agree with you with the fact that even though it's at the end, if we start doing it section by section, we're going to go down the rabbit hole, like Jeff says.
And this is not our purpose for being alive, but we do have an expectation from council to get this done. It's not going to get adopted before the end of the year like we had hoped, but we're really close. And I think we're going to be challenged because we won't have that many more meetings between now and the end of the year. So my sense is that some of this is going to drift into January, but we've got to keep kind of doing our best to move this forward. And I think this is the best way to do it. Article 3 was a lot of work. And if we have a handful or two handfuls of issues that we don't quite see eye to eye on, think of all the hundreds of decisions you guys have made that are clear and that we feel good about. So,
And those are hard decisions that are better to have a few more cooks in the kitchen talking about it.
Okay.
So we're not gonna figure it all out tonight.
Planning Commission comments?
Go Halloween.
Amanda's favorite.
Anybody?
Holiday.
No.
Except I'm not gonna.
November 12th, who's
You
here?
back on tomorrow?
I have tickets, but we have what? I'll be here.
November 12th.
Yep.
Okay, big question, Thanksgiving Day or before.
Michael says no.
would you?
No, I'm gonna be here, so
I'll be here.
I'll be here.
I'll be here.
I won't be here.
Who
But I
won't be
could-
here?
Maybe do on Zoom.
There you go.
Daryl?
I don't think I will be here.
Michael?
I
Maybe laying on a beach.
No, I won't. Trust me. I'd rather be.
So that's 3 people not here, 3 people here.
I don't know that I'll be here either. So,
Madison doesn't want to be here.
I do not want to be here, unfortunately. I will be here,
however,
What would we be facing that day?
it would be more midterm forward stuff, and that's my only concern. Is
I
if
would
we-
rather have a bigger group of us.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if there's a special meeting at some point, either in December or whatever, so we
Just
can
like
get
we have
another.
now.
Yeah. So think about that.
I mean,
Okay, Rick, not.
I don't want, if we get to a point where like, you're kind of feeling like we're close, we're getting close, and like you're saying, have a special session, is there a chance we could do it earlier in the day?
If everybody's schedule works for a majority of y'all schedules works, we can schedule whenever you want. Does not have to be a night.
So we just have to notice it for the public. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm open to that too. I mean,
I'm open to different, an extra day or something in December, but, you know, this is a lot of information, it's a lot of work for everybody involved, and we've been pounding it down for a while, and I think it would be a nice break for one day and catch an extra day in December or something.
Okay, I make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I second it.
And second.
Aye.
So we're not having the meeting the day before
Do we
Thanksgiving,
have
is that?
to,
No.
do we do that without it?